I can't believe I'm up late like this. Hey, come on in, come on in. Let's get into it. Y'all know I can't deprive my tea sippers. And I gave somebody else my whole day. Y'all know I can't do that. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Have y'all heard this apology from Ellen? Oh, I want to have somebody contacted her. What is she crying for? Huh? Please come on in. Come in hitting the like button. Oh, wait. Y'all ready to hear this? Are y'all ready to hear this cry?
My thoughts and my stance on this, but I haven't spoken directly because I don't know what to say.
What?
I am so sad,
What do you
and I
mean you
am
don't know what
so
to say? Ellen don't know what to say? Lord, I'm hoarse, y'all. I've been clowning all day. I am so sorry. I am hoarse. But can we believe Ellen DeGeneres don't know what to say? I'm shocked. Let's go.
angry,
Mm.
and I know I'm not going to say the right thing. I know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be in disagreement with what I say, but I have a platform and I have a voice, and I have always stood for equality. I have always wanted to be the voice for people who felt like they didn't have a voice, because I know what that feels like. And maybe you don't agree with how it's coming out, but you have to understand it, and then we can heal it. I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. I really don't know what to say other than
What is she
this has
saying,
gone
y'all?
on way too long. People have gotten away with murder, and that's what's happening. So we've got to see fairness, and we've got to see justice for all, because right now this is not a fair world. Not at all.
How y'all feel about that?
So I have been posting my thoughts and my stance on this, but I haven't spoken directly because I don't know what to say. I am so sad, and I am so angry, and I know I'm not going to say the right thing. I know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be in disagreement with what I say, but I have a platform and I have a voice, and I have always stood for equality. I have always wanted to be the voice for people who felt like they didn't have a voice, because I know what that feels like. And maybe you don't agree with how it's coming out, but you have to understand it, and then we can heal it. I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. I really don't know what to say other than this has gone on way too long. People have gotten away with murder, and that's what's happening. So we've got to see fairness and we've got to see justice for all. Because right now, this is not a fair world. Not at all.
Who's she talking about? Is she talking about her peeps? Her friends? Her partners? Epstein? I'm just trying to understand. Wasn't,
I have been,
you know, didn't you have that blue and white in your background on your stage? Wasn't you representing Disney? And then, oh, are you talking about because they find out you was eating people? Oh, is this because they found out that you was eating people? Were they alive or you was just eating people? You're a cannibalist. Oh, yeah, I think that's what you apologizing that your dirt came out. That you enjoy eating people. Well, where you think them people was coming from? Human flesh. Where the heck, Ellen, did you think the human flesh was coming from, boo-boo? Huh? I mean, they wasn't alive, were they? They had to be dead people, right? I mean, what we doing? I'm just trying to understand, Ellen. Because it looked like you trying to get away from what's been going, what you've been a part of. But I'm going to let them listen to you one more time for the last time, boo-boo. I'm trying to understand what part of it. So now that we done find out that you be eating people, where did you think the people you were eating came from? Where did the flesh come from? Y'all please hit the like button. Yes, Joe. Where did you think those people came from? Out the water, out the ground? I mean, was it plant-based human flesh? What? That means somebody had to have been unalive. So, you know, you in that entertainment industry, or they made you do it, and you found out that you liked it. What? I mean, come on, Ellen. Ellen. You didn't think that we was going to find out that you eat dead people. And where did you think them dead people came from? Wasn't you cool with Epstein? Ain't that why you had that Disney kind of logo in the back on your show? Just like his little, what is that, ritual little house on his property? Same thing. Come on now. Come on, Ellen. I mean, come on, girl. Let's go.
posting
She apologized.
my thoughts and my stance on this, but I haven't spoken directly because I don't know what to say.
You don't know what to say. I get it.
I am so sad and I am so angry. And
see, this is why I tell people don't play with the devil. Because how did you even know that you liked eating flesh? You had to get pulled into the cult some way, somehow, for you to even know that you like it. And so the first time that you tried it, can we talk about that? The first time that you tried eating folk. I mean, yeah, so what made you say, girl, you know, I know that I had you on the show, but I was looking at your skin and it looked like I just wanted to bite into it. I mean, you look like you got some pretty good blood. And you didn't think none of that was demonic. Is that what you telling me, Ellen? You didn't think that was demonic. So how did you judge that? I mean, I just don't understand why you even... Oh, you had to, because that's the only way that you was going to become successful. So you sold your soul to be successful. Is that what you're telling us, Ellen? And now that you're sorry. I mean, but I try to explain to people that's how the devil do you. He baits you in. He pulls you in so far, and then he leaves you. He leaves you laughing. saw her soul. Oh my God. She had to drink the blood. That wasn't the blood of the Lord. So I know she know it was, if it wasn't of the Lord, then it was of the devil. But you know, hopefully at this point that you feel bad and you feel sorry, that you give your life to Christ. You know, I hope it ain't gotten too far out of hand that you blasphemed against the Holy Spirit, because that is the only thing that the Bible says that will prevent you from turning your life around. I hope you sincere. I hope you're not just one of them ones who's apologizing and really only feel bad because, you know, your secret came out. Hopefully you're feeling remorse because you really feel bad, and you know now that that Bon Appetit was a human, somebody that had been maybe, you know, unalived and went through some extreme torture from what we are understanding. It was horrible, but you didn't, you know, I don't know why you didn't care about it when you was putting it in your mouth. Because the first thing would have came to me would be like, oh, Lord, where the person come from? Oh, no. Even if it's, they died and they, you know, No, you should have known better. So I hope that the Lord, that you give your life to Christ. Get out the cult. Get a personal relationship with the Lord before it's too late, because this is pretty bad. And I don't know, and I ain't the judge, but I kind of wish that you'd have came on clean with it before your secret got exposed with these Epstein files. But carry on, child.
I know I'm not going to say the right thing. I know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be in disagreement with what I say, but
it ain't about saying the right thing. It's about being truthful, standing in your pain, you know, confessing your sins, and asking God to save you, and ask Him for salvation. You know, you need to take this to the Lord. You have confessed it. Now you need to go and ask God to forgive you of your sins, and repeat the prayer of acceptance. I mean, you know,
I have a platform and I have a voice, and I have always stood for equality. I have always wanted to be the voice for people who felt like they didn't have a voice, because I know what that feels like. And maybe you don't agree with how it's coming out, but you have to understand it, and then we can heal it. I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. I really don't know what to say other than this has gone on way, 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 way too long. People have gotten away with murder.
Mm-hmm.
And
call it, put a name on it.
What's happening?
Put a name on it. Ellen, put a name on it, please. Put a name on it. These were your people. These were your cult members.
It's the people that are like really interested in reading all the emails.
I think the Luciferians cast a spell on the world. And
for real? Oh, absolutely. It's just like how vampires can't go into a house unless they're invited. They tell you, what's going on ahead of time. It's predictive
Ellen
programming.
is the
and
baby
once you
eating
say it
is
out loud,
one
you put it out there
of
and make fun of it and do a little skit like Stephen Colbert did a little skit on his show where, oh, here's a baby. I'm going to take this baby and I'm going to give it to Moloch. And he goes into like a cloudy red, furnace and hands the baby over. And the baby's going to be fine. And they make a joke about it and the audience laughs. Okay, we're all now conditioned to it. We've all seen it. And by laughing at it, we were complicit.
You think that's on purpose, that this is like some sort of a grand design to get us to be desensitized to the idea of demons eating babies?
Yeah.
for sure.
Really?
Oh,
For sure.
wow.
And
who do you
by the
think-
way,
but
nobody's doing anything about it. We know what's happening.
But that has to take, like, there has to be a person or some group of people.
Yeah, like about
That is-
about 8,500 people. Yeah,
that are manipulating the Colbert Show?
they're manipulating everything. It's all an illusion. Like, reality as we know it is fake. That's the revelation that guy is having, and he's looking around and he's like, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, see, I don't. The thing about the emails is one of the things is it's just stuff written down, and so that's sort of hard to digest. Like, what is this? Like, what are they saying? Like, some of it is in code, like walking over beef jerky. Like talking about jerky, could you walk beef jerky over to this person? Like, what does that
For
mean?
all this pizza they're talking about, no,
Right.
you never see any pizza.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, or
Oh, we
I'm gonna
did
get
with,
some grape soda. It's like
Yeah, I
with
saw
my
that grape.
cheese pizza.
Yeah.
And like, there's all this coded language, and everyone's like, oh, that's you just have pareola. You're just seeing things where you want to see them.
No, this is clearly a code. Well, that was the thing about
it's
Pizzagate.
absolutely a code, and in fact, mundus vult decipi, ergo decipiatur. It's a long-known concept, and so in Latin, mundus vult decipi means the world wants to be deceived. Ergo decipiatur. Therefore, it is. We want to be deceived.
No, we don't.
We don't want to believe the horrors that are actually behind the veil.
Well, I think with the Epstein files, people are, because of these emails that have been released, people are just now starting to be aware of the bizarreness of the code and some of the things, like the facts. Like, let's just talk about the sulfuric acid. So this was like right after he was indicted in 2018.
Yeah, I got to get rid of some bodies.
Yeah.
I got
How much
to
did
dissolve up some bodies.
What did it say he ordered? Like, let's
Like 8,000 gallons or
maybe we can get our
Isn't this
sponsor
crazy?
Perplexity to process this and give us a synopsis of what exactly happened, some sort of a breakdown. Because one of the things they're saying is, like, he was indicted, and then right after he's indicted, he orders how many gallons?
6 55-gallon containers full of sulfuric acid.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's like hot. Ugh.
What?
they're eating babies, man. Like that's
Do you think so that you think is real? So
well, yeah. Not only that, I think that there's sacrifices going on every day in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Allegedly, like
It's a lot of sulfuric acid.
high level.
He had a lot of bodies.
Musicians, let's say, high level female musician, is like killing chickens every day, doing sacrifices, like
high level.
Well, I don't want
You don't
to say. I
the
don't want to say
name?
names because I don't want to get sued, and I don't want to be dead either.
What does it rhyme like?
Here's the purchase order. I start looking at the comments for some stuff.
Dump.
Not that this is the best answer, but a quick answer someone gives is that this could be for like a reverse osmosis water treatment system.
It's true. He is on an island.
He's on an
I mean,
island.
there's enough pushback because mundus vult decipi, ergo decipiatur. But like the timing of all of that,
Sure,
like,
yeah.
where are the purchase orders for all of that sulfuric acid before then? Oh, no, I just want to put sulfuric acid into my swimming pool, muriatic acid.
Well, that's the question. Was there orders for sulfuric acid before this? If they do have a water treatment plant, how does sulfuric acid play into water treatment?
It says it here. It says it's commonly used. This explains it. I don't fucking know.
Okay. It
You
says
can't explain that, miss.
RO plant, reverse osmosis seawater desalination facility. Sulfuric acid is commonly used in the maintenance of such facilities. Not everything you don't understand adds up to the worst possible thing it could be. Deception.
Look, maybe they're all eating pizza and grape soda.
Who is that guy that's
How
saying
many
this?
billionaires do you know that sit down and eat lots of pizza and grape soda and ice cream?
This is weird.
And
A trial
gonna
lawyer
give me
is
some
saying
chicken.
this.
That's why I just go with grain of salt. This is just a plausible answer. I don't know that it is the answer. It could even be wrong.
Okay,
But-
so does he have a desalination plant on the island?
Oh, it's a reverse.
Oh yeah, for sure.
osmosis.
He is.
I don't know if
He had everything. He had a
Reverse
dump and
osmosis,
like they had all sorts of stuff.
So that's
Tunnels and
so they were using that. So they're
Tunnels.
taking seawater and converting it into fresh water for what? For irrigation or for drinking? For all the above?
One similar email that he wrote to someone said that like his around his island is like Damascus, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He was telling, you go explore buried shit around my island, or what? I mean, what else could he mean by that?
They have restaurants in
What does
LA
that mean?
you
I don't
can
know.
eat human
I mean,
flesh.
they say a
Oh
lot of
my
things, and they're not really
goodness.
coding it
Oh my
very much.
goodness.
Well, the code, it's glaringly obvious
Oh, my
when they say
stomach
pizza
just
and when they say
flipped.
jerky. That's
Yeah.
glaringly
So,
obvious.
last time
How
I
do you walk jerky?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And,
It's
why,
not
and why
like-
do I need a chilled container to,
Right.
a chilled bag or whatever they say?
Jesus Christ.
And
So you think they're eating babies?
oh yeah, I absolutely believe that.
You should get together with Kurt Metzger. You two would go crazy.
I don't doubt it for a second.
Well,
I think this dates back like a long time. This is Moloch worship.
Oh, well, there was the other email that said, "Thank you for the torture video. I enjoyed the torture video."
Yeah. And it's like people just they
But
don't
that is so.
they don't want to accept it. Like
But
people
that one
don't
is
want
the
to believe it. They
craziest.
don't want
Torture.
to accept it.
Okay, some commentary notes that a remote island with water
One
treatment
of
and
the
energy systems could
kitchens in the
plausibly
White House
stockpile
has
such
a bowl
quantities
of
for
eyeballs.
1 to 2 years of
One of the
operations.
kitchens.
Although others argue that using it directly for reverse osmosis, as stated in one social post, is technically questionable.
A bowl
for
of
memory health.
eyeballs.
Highly corrosive, strong mineral acid.
I'm
that can
sure-
severely burn
hopefully
skin,
they're
eyes,
fake
dehydrate, char
eyeballs.
organic material, which is why it features in both legitimate industrial processes and in darker hypotheticals online.
Darker hypotheticals.
Darker hypotheticals is where I'm leaning.
Yeah.
When you get indicted for sex trafficking and then you order 6 drums of sulfuric acid right away, are you really worried about your reverse osmosis plant right after you
Lord.
get indicted? I feel like you're going to
If it
jail.
looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
It's probably a duck.
These perfumes have taken over
Probably a
the internet.
duck.
If you don't have them yet, you are completely missing out. I'm breaking down exactly.
Hold on. I think Ellen may have had another apology. I'm just now seeing it. Hold on.
So, I have been posting my thoughts and my stance on this, but I haven't spoken
So they were
directly because
ducks.
I don't know what to say. I am so sad, and I am so angry, and I know I'm not going to say the right thing. I know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be in disagreement with what I say, but I have a platform and I have a voice, and I have always stood for equality. I have always wanted to be the voice for people who felt like they didn't have a voice, because I know what that feels like. And maybe you don't agree with how it's coming out, but you have to understand it, and then we can heal it.
Another one.
I'm just so sorry that it's come to this. I really don't know what to say other than this has gone on way too long. People have gotten away with.
Is that the same one?
So, I have been posting my thoughts and my stance. So,
It's the same one.
so
Child,
I have been
oh, you poor rich
posting
girl.
my thoughts
Hi,
and
Melissa.
my stance on this.
Oh, you poor
But I
rich
haven't
girl.
spoken
Biden also has an
directly because
island next to Epstein.
I don't know what to say.
I mean, some other people may have, I don't know.
I am so sad. And
Girl, shut up. Shut up. Hold on before I go over there. See what else I got over here. Hush it. Hush your mouth. as the old folks say. You knew exactly what you was doing when you started eating people. Now, why you didn't ask where the people came from, I don't know. Oh, let me hear about this. Let me see. Pork went on strike because of screaming babies in containers. Y'all please hit the like button. With some demonic mess going on. They hearing babies.
I was taken by beings who self-identified as Saurian. Their ancestry came from something what we would describe as reptiles. I think that they had an interest in my development. If there's any kind of intervention physically, it would have occurred in the story I told about being a young child and being taken to that Victorian house and being medically examined. And so the hybridization is not necessarily changing our appearance, but more like expanding our consciousness and expanding human potential to be all that we can be. And the agencies are CIA in particular.
Of course, CIA.
And I believe that they are looking at human origins through the examination of alien DNA and the discovery that some of that alien DNA is inhuman, that they want to know the origin of that, and that certain humans seem to have enhanced DNA. And we know that certain families have this enhanced DNA, not just regular human DNA, but enhanced DNA. How far back does it go? I was taken by beings who self-identified.
Yep, Epstein was big on that DNA.
So you see our politicians say, no, we're not going to release the Epstein files. No, we're going to give Epstein a sweetheart deal back in 2008. Ghislaine Maxwell, that's not familiar. Oh, she's the daughter of Robert Maxwell, legendary Israeli spy who stole our nuclear secrets. I don't know that that's ever been mentioned on cable news. Isn't that a super interesting fact?
And it's not even the most interesting. In my opinion, the most interesting fact is Attorney General Barr covered up Epstein's murder and said we have to let people know this was a suicide. Like, number one rule is don't let them think it was a murder. He said that before they'd done an investigation into it. So, like, that's a cover-up by definition. And then it turns out his father, Donald Barr, got Jeff Epstein his first job teaching math at the Dalton School. He didn't even have a college degree. And then got him a job at Stearns. What are the chances?
Then you combine that with the odds on the Maxwells. Then you combine that with the odds of Israeli spies and prime ministers staying at his house. And then you combine that with all the emails he's saying, I can't wait to get America to do what Israel wants. They're insulting our intelligence.
Do you think?
Absolutely. They are insulting our intelligence.
Say, no, we're not going to release.
Absolutely. Please pay attention. Let me see.
For those of you that think we're out of our minds, because we keep telling you to pay attention to the sky and what's been going on above our heads for a very long time, but most of you have your faces buried in your phones. Please pay attention to this documentary that's coming out. Wake up!
I put into my mouth. I can control what I feed to my child. I can control how I grow my food and if I want to spray pesticides or not. But I cannot control the experiments over my head.
Within an hour, it spreads out. It creates a blanket.
We're in a war. This is a war against me, you, our children, our grandchildren, and generations to come. This is war raged upon us.
These programs consist of spraying tons of patented aerosol pollutants into our skies without public consent. This includes aluminum, barium, strontium, and more.
It's targeting your food, your water, and it's coming in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
People want to know if this is a real thing. States have bills to ban it.
I think there are now 32 states that have taken an attempt at this.
This has become a huge issue.
If your average citizen knew the truth of what's going on and what they're being exposed to without their consent, they would be outraged and they would take action.
I don't want some creep ramming chemicals down my throat without my permission.
We need to prosecute those people that are doing it.
Do we stand in one spot and say enough is enough, and if they don't listen, we take it to the next step?
You've been doing this for a while?
Yeah,
Long time. People do care.
yeah,
We care deeply.
I know that.
So we're now getting really involved, and now we're going to bring something legal against your company.
Thank
For
you,
those of you that think we're out of our
spirituality.
minds, because we keep telling you to pay attention to the sky and what's been going on above our heads for a very long time, but most of you have
Thank
your
you,
faces
thank you.
buried in your phones. Please pay attention to this documentary that's coming out. Wake up!
Put into my mouth. I can control what I feed to my child. I can control how I grow my food and if I want to spray pesticides or not. But I cannot control the experiments over my head.
Within an hour, it spreads out, it creates a blanket.
We're in a war. This is a war against me, you, our children, our grandchildren, and generations to come. This is war raged upon us.
These programs consist of spraying tons of patented aerosol pollutants into our skies without public consent. This includes aluminum, barium, strontium, and more.
It's targeting your food, your water, and it's coming in multiple different ways.
If people want to know if this is a real thing, states have bills to ban it.
I think there are now 32 states that have taken an attempt at this. This has become a huge issue.
If your average citizen knew the truth of what's going on and what they're being exposed to without their consent, they would be outraged and they would take action.
I don't want some creep.
I agree. We got to start paying attention because a lot of this stuff they're doing it right in our face. So, Pastor Will made. There is, oh, yeah. They got a kill switch.
Energy, messages, or frequencies, or impulses.
That's the kind of death we're talking about when they're hit with a pulsed microwave 5G signal.
That issue has never been addressed by these companies. Well, what does that do to the human, right? Just imagine you're getting this new substance in you, and it can react to things all around you. The 5G, your smart device, your phones.
The COVID-19 vaccine, not a vaccine. And what it actually is, it is an antenna, is injecting them with these nanometer material antennas. In fact, it's a graphite ferrous oxide antenna. It's a self-replicator. It has a magnetic field. It emits a magnetic field. It's a reflection that don't emit RFIDs, and I can hit them with a sub-gigahertz frequency, and that causes an atonic seizure and kill them.
We are now seeing more 5G cell towers going in. The school systems, the cruises, the hospitals, etc., are putting more and more of this EMF frequency out.
Remember back in 2020, them things weren't just getting implanted.
That the COVID-19 was not a vaccine. They literally was putting nanochips within your body in all new vaccines. So if you got the COVID-19 or any vaccine prior, all the new vaccines have nanotechnology in them, even the flu vaccine. So this is why a lot of people are going to go ballistic, because what they're doing right now, especially with the Epstein files, is they're pushing the truth. They know most of the population is vaccinated, okay? So most of the population is vaccinated, and these 5G towers are literally making them angry, depressed, mad, because understand that hell is a vibration. It's a state of mind. Right? And once you get to the higher levels of consciousness, you understand that all is mind, all is within yourself. So the only way you can really purify your mind, body, and soul is knowing all is within. There's nothing outside of yourself that can heal what's internally inside of you. This is why it's important to fast and purify your mind, body, and soul. Understand that most of the population will not make it to the new world. Only 1/3 of us will make it to the new world. Everybody else is going to go insane. 1/3 is going to make it to the new world. 1/3 is going to go insane, and the other third is going to die. Right? So these 5G, they got a kill switch where they can unalive you because you let them put nanotechnology in your body. So they have a kill switch where they can unalive you, and this is why they're turning up those towers, because, and it's been It's been what 5 years since the vaccine rolled out, and y'all see how crazy people are acting. You see how ballistic people are acting, and then the veil is falling down too. So people are actually showing how they're narcissists, showing how they're pedophiles, predators, molesting and killing and raping babies, and people can't handle the truth because they haven't done enough work on themselves. Right? It's all within yourself. Any true teacher will tell you all the answers is within yourself, not outside of anything else. This is why it's important to fast and meditate and go within and protect your energy, protect yourself, protect your family, because right now this is literally the end of the old world and the beginning of the new. It's inevitable. This is why it's imperative to keep your heart as light as a feather so you may evolve into this new world.
Y'all please hit the like button. Oh my
Messages or
God.
frequency impulses.
Oh my
That's the kind of
God.
death we're talking about when they're hit with a
Oh my God. Breeding rights.
The Royal family lost all their money and they've been funded by the Rothschilds in exchange for breeding
The
rights.
truth is in your eyes. Thank you. Where are you
So
from?
what was the purpose of the Rothschilds?
Thank you.
The
I don't know
British Royal
what
family
that
was
amount
actually
is.
bankrupt from 1815.
Where are you
the Rothschilds
from?
funded the British Royal family
Spirituality.
in exchange for the Rothschilds breeding the royals. So the whole British Royal family are Rothschild Batards.
Thank you.
And Batard is the royal name for bastard. I exposed King George V of England as being sired by Tsar Alexander III of Russia, and I exposed Queen Elizabeth II as sired by artificial insemination by Winston Churchill, who was actually the illegitimate son of King Edward VII.
Hang on.
I know, it gets too much.
So you've got it all laid out for us to see?
Absolutely.
So these legal documents that you've registered and given to the British royal family, you've also sent copy of these to various other world leaders?
America, Russia, Israel, England.
And nobody contested these documents?
Well, the whole world has been acting on my documents, including the British royal family. They've acquiesced to my documents by removing...
Tony, put your questions on a super chat or super sticker, please. Tony Rice, put that on a super chat or super sticker.
In the castle for the purpose of supposedly the coronavirus. The British royal family lost all their money and they've been funded by the Rothschilds in exchange for breeding rights from 1819 to 2019.
So what was the purpose of the Rothschilds needing this?
The British royal family were virtually bankrupt from 1815, so the Rothschilds funded the British royal family in exchange for the Rothschilds breeding the royals. So the whole British royal family are Rothschild Batards, and Batard is the royal name for bastard. I exposed King George V of England as being sired by Tsar Alexander III of Russia, and I exposed Queen Elizabeth II as sired by artificial insemination by Winston Churchill, who was actually the illegitimate son of King Edward VII.
Hang on.
I know, it gets too much.
So you've got it all laid out for us to see?
Absolutely.
So these legal documents that you've registered and given to the British royal family, you've also sent copy of these to various other world leaders?
America, Russia, Israel, England.
Breeding rights.
Date, July 9th, 1947. Location,
Hold on, one back.
Date, July 9th, 1947. Location, Base Hospital, Roswell. Army Airfield. Participants, Matilda O'Donnell. McElroy, telepathic nurse. Errol, non-biological pilot of the Domain Expeditionary Force.
Can you understand me?
Yes, I hear your thoughts. I respond in kind.
Who are you?
I am a pilot, officer of the domain. The body you see is not me. It is a biological form used to interface with material environments.
Where do you come from?
From beyond this solar system. My assignment is reconnaissance. I belong to the domain, a civilization far older than your recorded time.
Are you hurt? Do you feel pain?
This body is not designed for pain in the way your bodies are. It is damaged, but I am not distressed.
Why did your ship crash?
Interference. A disruption of electrical systems from your radar installations. This form is vulnerable to intense electromagnetic pulses.
Are there others like you?
Yes, many. My presence here is not singular. Your planet is under long-standing observation. The domain monitors this sector.
What is your purpose?
To observe, to report, and when needed, to intervene. This planet is of interest due to its containment systems.
Containment?
Yes, this world is not free. It is a prison planet, Souls are confined here by ancient design.
What do you mean souls are confined?
The beings inhabiting your bodies, what you call people, are immortal spiritual beings. They are trapped in cycles of forgetfulness, bound by artificial constructs of time, death, and belief.
So, we're prisoners?
Yes, but you have forgotten. That is part of the system's function.
Can we escape?
Yes, but not through force. Awareness is the key. Truth dissolves the bindings.
She said, it said not through force. Let me see what I got over here before. Oh, hold on.
Since 1885, the Rothschilds were trying to start a world war because the Zionist International Congress at Basel, Switzerland, has called for 3 world wars. At the end of the Third World War, they would control the entire world. A billion Christians are fighting a war to the death against a billion Muslims, which will leave Israel in charge of the world, which was predicted at the 6th International Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland in 1896. So after the Zionist Congress in 1896, you had World War I, World War II, and now we have World War III. At the end of World War I, the Rothschilds organized a number of groups called, one was the Royal Institute of International Affairs in London. It's called Chatham House, and that is the think tank of all of Europe today. And although its headquarters in London, the real headquarters are in Brussels, which is the headquarters of the Lambert family, which is part of the Rothschild family. And Brussels has been running since 1885. The Rothschilds were.
And for the ones who've been, let's hear Oprah. What did Oprah say?
Oprah has spoken out in regards to the Epstein files. Check this out.
And so to hear people say things that are just crazy, like I'm a part of a cabal and there's a whole conspiracy with children, that stuff makes me sad. It makes me sad more than anything that people would believe it. And, you know, it's taken me a long time to get to the point that I'm not, I don't feel hurt by it. I don't feel personally hurt by it. But now I know we live in a world where it's going to be magnified.
Well, Oprah, this child conspiracy has proven to be true thanks to the Epstein files. And your name is mentioned over 100 times in those files. Now, whether or not you were involved in these crimes with Epstein, still to be determined. However, we haven't forgot about this. This man, named the John of God, who you promoted on your show and called a spiritual healer. Yeah, you had a pretty close relationship with this man, and you endorsed him. This man who is now behind bars for the rest of his life. For what, you might ask? For running a baby farm in Brazil where he held women hostage, raped them, abused them, forced them to have babies, and sold those babies on the black market. Yeah, Oprah, your case isn't looking so good. It blows my mind when these people try to play dumb and act like these claims are just ridiculous. You know about this stuff, Oprah. You had a satanic family on your show who confessed that they come from a line of people who sacrifice babies for blood rituals to Satan. You know what's going on, Oprah. You've been exposed to this a long time ago. It's judgment time, and may God expose it all and bring everybody to accountability. They're trying to scrub this episode from Oprah off the internet, but I have a copy of it preserved. If you want to check this episode out, head over to my Patreon page where you can view the uncensored version of this video. Head over, subscribe, and I'll see you guys there. God bless.
Oh, wow. There y'all go. Because I remember a long time ago.
Oprah has spoken out in regards to the Epstein files. Check this out.
And so to hear people say things that are just crazy, like I'm a part of a cabal and there's a whole conspiracy with children, that stuff makes me sad. It makes me sad more than anything that people would believe it. And, you know, it's taken me a long time to get to the point that I'm not, you know, I don't feel hurt by it. I don't feel personally hurt by it. But now I know we live in a world where it's going to be magnified.
Well, Oprah, this child conspiracy has proven to be true thanks to the Epstein files. And your name is mentioned over 100 times in those files. Now, whether or not you were involved in these crimes with Epstein, still to be determined. However, we haven't forgot about this. This man, named the John of God, who you promoted on your show and called a spiritual healer. Yeah, you had a pretty close relationship with this man, and you endorsed him. This man who is now behind bars for the rest of his life. For what, you might ask? For running a baby farm in Brazil where he held women hostage, raped them, abused them, forced them to have babies, and sold those babies on the black market. Yeah, Oprah, your case isn't looking so good. It blows my mind when these people try to play dumb and act like these claims are just ridiculous. You know about this stuff, Oprah. You had a satanic family on your show who confessed that they come from a line of people who sacrifice babies for blood rituals to Satan.
Yep. Okay, so in the Fifth Amendment. Oh, hold on.
It's a while since I've seen Ghislaine Maxwell, but she has developed an extraordinary likeness to Mike Myers, to Austin Powers in the short time, actually.
Let me go out and come back.
It's a while since I've seen Ghislaine Maxwell, but she has developed an extraordinary likeness.
Yep, they did the old switcheroo.
Austin Powers in the short time, actually, that she has been in an open, soft prison in the United States, at least for the latter part of the sentence that she has served so far. It begs the question, why would they put up a fake Ghislaine Maxwell, albeit with a long prison vantage point? The camera was seldom up close, but all it needed was some wag to blow the picture up, and I don't just mean the extra pounds that the pastor in the prison has, of course, put on Ghislaine Maxwell, a famously thin-faced woman. But no amount of pasta can change the length and the shape of your nose. And no amount of pasta can alter the distance between your eyes. And I've got to tell you, as someone who knows Ghislaine Maxwell, that wasn't Ghislaine Maxwell in that hearing. It was an entirely different woman. It begs the question, was the corpse that was carted out of the penitentiary in New York a different Jeffrey Epstein? And if so, are the couple now reunited somewhere, I don't know, on an island, perhaps? Now, once upon a time, what I'm saying to you now would seem completely unhinged. And some will pretend that it is still unhinged. But the rest of us know that so many conspiracy theories have turned into conspiracy facts.
Yeah, I told you it would come out Monday or Tuesday.
That what I'm saying to you right now is true. And there could only be two reasons for it. One would be that Ghislaine Maxwell, like Jeffrey Epstein before her, has hanged herself with paper towels from the door of her cell. Or that Ghislaine Maxwell is no longer in that prison. And that somebody, some patsy, presumably using her voice, because I would say it was definitely her voice, someone is serving the time for her, which makes the demand for a pardon all the more urgent, because it would mean that an entirely innocent woman was serving time in the United States prison system for
Ghislaine
which Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty. It's a while since I've seen Ghislaine Maxwell, but she had...
Okay, y'all, let's move over to the issue at hand. I just, this is ugly. Ugly. And when I say ugly, I do mean ugly. Let me hear him before we go to...
Donald Trump tries to shift the Epstein focus to the Clintons. Smart move, giving two of your biggest rivals an even bigger platform. This is just another day.
Let's go.
Were the Clintons set to testify this month over their presence in the Epstein files? And just to be clear, I'm using they quite loosely here. Hillary Clinton has decided to weigh in on the process as a whole.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is accusing the Trump administration of a cover-up
over its handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Whoa! What a bombshell accusation! How on earth did Hillary get to be so timely? Does she have any other hot takes? Maybe some thoughts on the first wicket or Taylor and Travis's engagement photo? And I can't even imagine what color she thinks this dress is. But, I'm sorry, let's hear exactly what she had to say.
Get the files out. They are slow walking it. They are redacting the names of men who are in it. They are stonewalling legitimate requests from members of Congress. That has nothing to do with us.
Can I get y'all to hit the like button? Double tap the face of your screen. Or hit those 3 dots at the top right. I know it's late, but I still need for y'all to, it's 2:35 here. Hit the like button, please. I'm gonna wait. I need for y'all to hit the like button.
Something is going on. They know it. I know it. If they're going to have me testify, I would prefer to do it in public because I want everybody to see it at the same time. If I have to do it behind closed doors, they're not going to like what I have to say because I have very strong opinions about what it is they're hiding and who they are protecting.
Just a heads up, I don't think Trump's Republicans are going to like what you have to say regardless of where you testify. Behind closed doors, out in the open, hell, you could be painted gold and perched onto Trump's mantle and the GOP would still have a problem with whatever comes out of your mouth. Now, to be clear, I'm not here to run cover for the Clintons. I think anyone with ties to Epstein should be forced to explain themselves as well as answer any questions under oath. And Hillary agrees. Sort of.
Just to be clear, do you regret the links that there have been?
You know, we have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said. He took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So it to me is not something that
hold on.
is.
Did she say she has never met Jeffrey Epstein? Hillary.
His charitable work. I don't recall ever.
Hillary. Now I know good and dang well I saw a picture from the Epstein files where y'all had on these red hoodies, you know, night onesies type thing, and you had those hoodies. And Epstein, you and Bill and was it Gates? Come on, Hillary, come on. You have met. Is she talking about Epstein?
On the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him. Charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did.
Is she lying and said that she's
I don't
never?
recall ever meeting him.
Was you high?
Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did.
Girl, don't
on a
make me
few
go on
occasions,
my
and
archives.
thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So it to me is not something that is really at the heart of what this matter is about.
Yes, but also gross.
Hillary.
Look, I think Donald Trump is 100% using every tool at his disposal to run cover for the countless rich guys in his orbit who had a questionable relationship with Epstein. But also, these pictures are, as my Duolingo instructor would say, no bueno. And despite what Hillary says, they are what this is all about. Men in power who were more than willing to look the other way on other men's horrific behavior because it wasn't happening to them. Now, with that being said, it is notable how willing the Clintons are to put out all the facts.
Because what we want is for everybody to get to the facts about this. We have nothing to hide. We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly. We think sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Hold on. I think our show's sponsor, Bleach That Shit, would strongly disagree. When you really want to get rid of germs, forget sunlight, you gotta bleach that shit. It should be noted what a massive departure that kind of rhetoric is from, say, some other people when asked about the Epstein files.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
Yeah, who could think of justice for the victims when Americans are just rolling in cash right now? Now, as one would expect, Hillary's criticism of the administration's handling of the Epstein files made their way to Trump himself, and although he rarely does this, he decided to weigh in on the matter.
So Hillary Clinton said in an interview today that she and her husband are getting pulled into the Epstein matter to divert attention from you and that your administration has something to hide. What's your response to that?
I have nothing to hide. I've been exonerated. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. They went in hoping that they'd find it and found just the opposite. I've been totally exonerated. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein was fighting that I don't get elected with some author. The sleazebag, by the way.
Yes, how could anyone forget Jeffrey Epstein's most gruesome crime, trying to make sure Trump never got elected? Why, if that doesn't make someone take their own life in their prison cell, I don't know what would. But Trump had more to say.
I've been totally exonerated. No, they're getting pulled in, and that's their problem. I don't know, they're going to have to see what happens. But I watched her in Munich, and she seriously has Trump derangement syndrome.
Do you think she should publicly testify?
You know, I've been totally
I know her
exonerated
name is
on
not
Epstein.
Rockefeller.
And it's really interesting because they've been pulled in. Think of it. They've been pulled in. Clinton and many other Democrats have been pulled in, yeah.
I love how Donald Trump thought pointing people in the direction of the Clintons would take the heat off him. All it did was give them a massive platform to shit on him. Trump was like, don't look at me, look at them. And the camera pans over to Hillary Clinton, who's essentially holding a giant Trump and Epstein sign. If Donald Trump thinks shining the spotlight on the Clintons, or releasing half the files but claiming it's all of them, or muddying the waters with 300 practically irrelevant names is going to make people forget that he is engaged in a massive cover-up for his rich friends, he is sorely mistaken. The reality is, thanks to Donald Trump's continued efforts to shamelessly protect Epstein's enablers and co-conspirators, the number of spaces for him to feel welcome with open arms is dwindling by the minute.
The loss of support among independents, the loss of support among 18 to 29-year-olds. I mean, think about this. A 51-point swing. Everybody I've talked to, Trump supporters, Republicans who are sort of Trump curious, independents, of course, Democrats.
They don't kill each other.
Saying that the Bondi testimony was probably the worst they've ever seen on Capitol Hill.
And the list of people who found Bondi's testimony utterly embarrassing doesn't stop there. There's also the dark web Trump supporters, ice fishermen for Trump, even the MAGA furries think Bondi should be ashamed. And it takes a lot for those people to say anyone should feel shame for anything. And remember when Donald Trump used to have the manosphere on lock? Well, he might want to check again.
My position on this completely shifted. I thought there's probably some really sick people that have an appetite for that, but I hadn't seen any real evidence for it until these files. And now I'm like, oh, this is demonic.
Obviously, as we just stated, we're looking at it and it's like clear there's something that Trump does not want to get out. Now, some people are like, he's protecting his friends, which is, if you're protecting your friends that fuck little girls, fuck you.
See how easy that was? Turns out you can still retain your fans even when you take the bold stance of saying... And remember when Donald Trump used to have the manosphere on lock? Well, he might want to check again.
My position on this completely shifted. I thought there's probably some really sick people that have an appetite for that, but I hadn't seen any real evidence for it until these files. And now I'm like, oh, this is demonic.
Obviously, as we just stated, we're looking at it and it's like clear there's something that Trump does not want to get out. Now, some people are like, he's protecting his friends, which is, if you're protecting your friends that fuck little girls, fuck you.
See how easy that was? Turns out you can still retain your fans even when you take the bold stance of saying you are against guys who fuck little girls. Even Donald Trump and his ride or die had their falling out, which still baffles her.
Donald Trump is
It
fighting
sure
it.
does.
President Trump is
She
fighting
still
it.
believes
President Trump
him.
is yelling at me. The White House is putting pressure on Nancy Mace. They take Lauren Boebert in a skiff. I don't even know what they said to her in there.
If I had to guess, it wasn't too dissimilar to what they said to you, Marjorie, but I'm pretty sure they were counting on the location of the war room having some outsized influence. But, sorry, you were saying?
In the meantime, President Trump is calling it Epstein, the whole thing a hoax. He's calling it a Democrat hoax. He won't have anything to do with the women. He still refuses to have anything to do with these women. So this whole thing is building. The women are saying, President Trump did nothing wrong. They still say this. President Trump did nothing wrong. Their attorney says Donald Trump's the only one that helped us. And guess what? That came out in the Epstein files.
And this point is really worth digging
Child,
in
there
on.
are
Donald
more
Trump has
Epstein
not been
files
implicated in the files,
that's gonna
and the
blow the
survivors
wig
have even
off
said that
your
he did
head.
nothing wrong. I mean, I wouldn't categorize this as necessarily okay, but it's not explicitly criminal. Under different circumstances, one that didn't involve the trafficking and abuse of young girls, Donald Trump might actually be seen as a good friend, someone loyal to a fault, someone who goes to bat for you, someone who isn't a pussy, but instead a guy willing to stick his neck out for you, even when that neck looks like a pussy. But the fact that he's dying on this hill, under these circumstances, is simply despicable. For whatever bad decisions Bill Clinton may have made in the past, the fact that he and Hillary are willing to testify before Congress in service of justice for the survivors speaks volumes. And the more they are in the news talking about Epstein, the more they are willing to face the music, well, the more it remains abundantly clear that the current president is engaged in the most morally bankrupt cover-up our nation has ever seen.
Absolutely.
Or to put that another way,
something is going on.
I couldn't agree more.
Let's go. Let's go hear this ourselves out of her mouth. Bodies buried on Epstein. Y'all, can y'all hit the like button, please? Trump said on that plane. Yep. He sure did.
The former US presidential candidate Hillary Clinton says she believes Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and anyone with any information about the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein should testify before Congress. In a BBC interview, Mrs. Clinton also said she and her husband, Bill Clinton, want their forthcoming testimony about Epstein to be public. The couple had previously refused to testify to the Epstein inquiry and were threatened with contempt proceedings. Former President Bill Clinton appears several times in the Epstein files that were released by the US Justice Department last month. Mr. Clinton knew Epstein but has denied having any knowledge he was a sex offender and says he cut off contact with him 2 decades ago. Bill Clinton will appear in Congress for a deposition on the 27th of February, and Hillary Clinton is set to appear the day before. Our Europe correspondent Jessica Parker sat down with Ms. on the 27th of February, and Hillary Clinton is set to appear the day before. Our Europe correspondent Jessica Parker sat down with Mrs. Clinton. Hillary Clinton, thank you for talking to BBC News. I want to start off talking about the case of Jeffrey Epstein.
Why are you shaking your head up and
You say you never
down?
met Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly your husband did know him. The former president says he knew him before his crimes came to light. But there are also associations with Ghislaine Maxwell, including in 2013 when she was a guest at a Clinton Global Initiative event, years after allegations had emerged against her. What I want to know is, do you regret the links that there have been between Epstein, Maxwell, and the Clinton family?
Well, let me start by saying that a law was passed in Congress to require that all the files that have anything to do with them be released. And what we're seeing, I think it's fair to say, is a continuing cover-up by the Trump administration. In fact, when the Attorney General testified last week, it was quite a scene because she refused to answer questions. She diverted attention away from the matters at hand. She refused to look at the survivors. So there's something about this administration's attitude toward this, which I think really leads us to conclude they have something to hide. We don't. We have been willing to say whatever we know. We've even done it under oath. But they want us to testify, not everyone else who's mentioned many, many times, hundreds of thousands of times in these files.
Yeah.
So we've said, fine, let us do it in public. And we will appear in public and we'll answer all your questions.
And we'll get to that in just a moment. But just to be clear, do you regret the links that there have been?
You know, we have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said he took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So it to me is not something that is really at the heart of what this matter is about. They are accused, and in both cases were convicted of horrific crimes against girls and women. That should be the focus. And we are more than happy to say what we know, which is very limited and totally unrelated to their behavior or their crimes. And we want to do it in public because let's make this transparent. The survivors deserve that. The public deserves that. But, you know, the Republican member of Congress who is running this hearing or this investigation is trying to protect the president. So let's get to what's really at stake here.
Just on this hearing, and obviously I'm sure Donald Trump and his administration would reject your characterization of what's going on, and he's denied
How
any
can they
wrongdoing.
reject it? They
But
can't answer questions, and the Attorney General was clearly unwilling to answer questions. She works for him.
Facts,
So
not the people.
let's be very clear here. According to what we now know, Mr. Trump, President Trump, is mentioned, some say, 1 million times in the files. People in his cabinet are mentioned. That's what it says, you know, on the internet over and over again. So let's find out what the truth is. That's why we want it to be transparent and in public.
On that, your upcoming appearance before the Oversight Committee, where are we with that? You want to appear in public versus closed-door deposition. Is it going ahead, and how? What is the format going to be?
We will show up, but we think it would be better to have it in public.
Absolutely.
Because what we want is for
Transparency.
everybody to get to the facts about this.
Transparency.
We have nothing to hide. We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly. We think sunlight is the best disinfectant. Get the files out. They are slow walking it. They are
I need for y'all to hit the like button. I've been on here 1 hour and 7 minutes, and you guys are, you know, not hitting the like button. Double tap the face of your screen.
He's doing a bad job.
Westmore, an Army veteran, a Rhodes Scholar.
hold
That's why
on.
we're thankful for leaders like Governor.
Double tap the face of your screen. Hit the like button.
The former U.S. president.
Hit the wrong button. I'm sorry.
people in his cabinet are mentioned.
Double tap the 3 dots at the top right. They work as well. I need for y'all to get the likes up, please. Excuse me. She looked funny right here. Like, what you got to hide?
But it says, on the internet over and over again. So let's find out what the truth is. That's why we want it to be transparent and in public.
And on that, your upcoming appearance before the Oversight Committee, where are we with that? You want to appear in public, public versus closed-door deposition. Is it going ahead, and how? What is the format going to be?
We will show up, but we think it would be better to have it in public. Because what we want is for everybody to get to the facts about this. We have nothing to hide. We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly. We think sunlight is the best disinfectant. Get the files out. They are slow walking it. They are redacting the names of men who are in it. They are stonewalling legitimate requests from members of Congress. That has nothing to do with us. Something is going on. They know it. I know it. If they're going to have me testify, I would prefer to do it in public because I want everybody to see it at the same time. If I have to do it behind closed doors, they're not going to like what I have to say because I have very strong opinions about what it is they're hiding and who they are protecting.
And she know what they
I
hide.
just want to ask you, there are calls for another individual who denies wrongdoing to go before Congress on this matter. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew. Do you think he should testify?
I think everybody should testify. Look,
including the former prince.
I think everybody
Including
should testify who is asked to testify. I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. That's not true for my husband and me because other witnesses were asked to testify. They gave written statements under oath.
She knows they
We
won't
offered that.
ask
They
disturbing
want
questions
to pull us.
in
Why
public.
did they want to pull us?
Oh
into
no,
this?
that's not
To divert
it. They don't
attention
want
from-
the disturbing answers to the disturbing questions. Because she know that her husband cheated on her with Trump, allegedly. She knows that there are kids involved, allegedly. Yeah, she knows that. I mean, yeah. She knows that her husband has had affairs and she has had affairs too. And maybe, you know, I don't know. She knows, but the reason Trump backpedaling and don't want Bill Clinton to testify, especially publicly, is because he is most definitely going to be exposed being on Epstein's island. They no. Cause yeah, no. That's what he don't want to come out. They don't want all of the CIA activity to come out. You know. Yeah. The 9/11, Epstein, the COVID. Finding out that Epstein and Gates concocted the COVID to 2017, all of that. I bet 100% of the questions will be solved. No, I don't think they're going to be solved because they want the heat off of Trump. That's why she said Trump should be questioned. The full Epstein file should be released. And everything that they're going to ask is in the Epstein files. Release it. Let's do it publicly. Let's do it publicly so that everybody can hear the answers. Y'all know Trump don't want that. Heck no. He wants to say he's been exonerated. He's saying that because the real evidence is the remaining 3,000 files. That's what's going on.
President Trump, this is not complicated. This is so obvious, and they keep trying to divert. Look at this shiny object. We're going to have the Clintons, even Hillary Clinton, who never met the guy. We're going to have her there.
They say she's not in the Epstein
files. What's really happening here? You have an attorney general and a Justice Department attempting to hide information that should be made public.
I just want to ask you, though, because as many people have said, being in the Epstein files does not mean that you've done anything wrong. But speaking for yourself and for your family, what was your reaction when you saw some of the material that has been released? I'm thinking, for example, of images of your husband apparently in a hot tub in a swimming pool on Epstein's plane. What was your reaction to that? And do you know the context surrounding some of those?
Well, she wanted to cut you out. It wasn't a hot tub on a plane. It was one of the stops they made to look at philanthropic and charitable work that my husband has done, saving literally millions of lives around the world. It turned out that was done long before there was any public awareness and certainly any conviction of any crime by Jeffrey Epstein. So it was a short period of time that was in pursuit of charitable philanthropic work. A lot of people were traveling at the same time. Many staff members, guests, other supporters of the foundation.
All over.
If
She's
Bill
evil
and I
rich. No,
had a penny
they
for
said
every
she's
person
not
who'd
in the
taken
Epstein
pictures,
files.
we would
Not
be
the ones
extremely
that
rich
has
today.
been released.
Let's
Did you
move
see
on
it yourself?
to
Because they're saying she's not,
what
and
we're
there's
seeing
really no
just come
reason
from
for her
the Munich
to even
Security
be
Conference. And a lot
having
of
to
people are talking
testify.
about the idea
Bill
of a new
is,
world
not her.
order. I'm
Now, she
interested in
may
your
be in
thoughts. In terms of
some that's coming.
transatlantic relations between Europe and the United States, do you think they have permanently shifted, that there is no going back to the way things were before?
Hi,
Well, I think
David.
time will tell whether we are going to support the rule of law, support the strong alliances that were forged through and after World War II, create an area of peace and security in the transatlantic or not. And as I said in Munich, I think that comes down to whether or not the people in America turn out, Donald Trump and Republicans, who are more concerned about Putin than they are about democracy, and whether Europe stands against efforts to undermine the ties amongst European nations in favor of the rule of law, in favor of peace and security, and against Putin. So I'm hoping that the answers are the right answers. I'm hoping that people in Europe and people in the United States will stand up for universal values that have actually protected our peace and security now for more than 80 years.
When you look at the United
Thank
States,
you,
would you
Raymond.
still say it is a country that can be seen as the leader of the free world?
Well, it appears that Donald Trump wants to be the leader, but not necessarily of a free world. He is very enamored of Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator, brutal
He's also criticised him
dictator.
at times.
Donald Trump has never criticized Putin. You can go
His
back.
handling of
No,
Ukraine.
you can go back and look, because many of us
Oh,
have
well,
done it.
oh, yeah,
looking
not
for
really.
one moment. You know, he said, "Come on, he needs to solve this. He needs to." And what do we now hear? That he and Putin want to profit off the death and misery of the Ukrainian people. So. Is that a leader? Well, I suppose if you count it in terms of military power, we are still the leader, but are we the leader in values? Are we the leader in bringing people together? Are we the leader in trying to create hope and opportunity? I think that's an
Is it
open
America first? No.
Donald Trump's pressure has led, for example, to Europe spending more on defense, including here in Germany, which is something Americans have wanted for a long time. So would you actually count that as a success?
Well, there was a lot of pressure on the Europeans from previous presidents, and including in Trump's first term. And I think the real credit for that goes to Vladimir Putin. I think Vladimir Putin's aggressive behavior, starting with Georgia, Crimea, and then the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, has woken up the Europeans, unlike anything anybody else could ever tell them. Obviously, Trump has, pushed that. But it's the Europeans who finally have realized that Vladimir Putin is attempting to undermine European security, and left to his own devices, I believe, along with many other security experts, will threaten the independence of the Baltic states, Poland, and elsewhere. So this is not just rhetorical push from the American president. This is the cold reality that here in the 21st century, we are dealing with a dictator who wants to dominate and control not just Ukraine, but Europe.
My final question is on artificial intelligence. You believe that this should be regulated more firmly. How can that be done when you're looking at a kind of patchwork potentially regulation?
Yeah, she gonna tell on Trump.
I think if we don't regulate it, we will wake up as we are now with social media and regret it deeply. I think social media has had a very negative effect on our children. We have evidence of that. Evidence, sadly, that comes mostly from the tech companies, because they follow very closely how to keep our kids addicted to social media. I applaud Macron in France. I applaud Sanchez in Spain, Australia, and others who have woken up to the danger social media poses. It also undermines democracy, because it undermines trust, it undermines unity, it undermines common effort, and I think it will be on steroids with artificial intelligence.
How can artificial intelligence, if that's what you think should happen, how can that be done on a global scale?
Because, look at...
do you need like a UN-type body to do that?
Well, it has to start with individual nations, as they are now with social media. But remember, the European Union is the only serious regulator of technology in the world right now.
And you disagree with some people's view that that's very onerous, the regulation that they do?
When we first started talking about putting seatbelts into cars, because we had so many deaths from car accidents, the car makers complained, drivers complained, everybody complained. Who wants to have these straps over our body? We should be free in our cars. And the regulators said, we're going to save lives. Now, I don't think Elon Musk should determine the future of either our children or civilization. Of course he doesn't like it. But the Digital Services Act that the European Union passed is the only comprehensive effort to try to rein it in. Now we're looking at artificial intelligence, where even some of the creators of this
agenda is
new
clearly
phenomenon
obvious.
have no
The
idea what it's
construction
going
is
to do to
obvious.
us. They know it's
I
going to cost
agree.
jobs. They know that it's going to kind of mess with people's heads through delusion
Everything
and
is about
hallucination
power.
and all the rest that we
Propaganda
already
is
see
the
happening.
most evilest
But they don't know whether it's actually
thing
going to
that-
control
No, I think
our
Trump
institutions.
is
Can it take
most
over
evil.
our air traffic
I think
control
Trump
system?
is
Can
way
it take
more
over our
evil
electric
than
grid?
Hillary and Bill.
Can it do further damage to our democracy and our ability to really govern ourselves? We don't know the answers to that.
I think Trump is worse.
And people who were at the birth of artificial intelligence, like Jeffrey Hinton and others, who were among the original creators, are all saying, wait a minute, slow down. This is not just a big technological change. This is an existential change in how human beings are going to be treated and treat each other and what's going to happen to us. So I think it's a terrible example of negligence not to try to get into it and understand it better and require the tech companies to help us figure out what is the best way to make sure that the worst of artificial intelligence doesn't happen.
And the Epstein file said that Trump slept with her
Serious
husband.
question. Does anybody work at the Department of Justice anymore other than Pam Bondi and some of Donald Trump's other sycophants? We're seeing people not just resigning en masse, over 8,000 lawyers and top staffers resigning from the DOJ. They're resigning in very public ways, like on LinkedIn, saying, I'm out, see you later, I tried, goodbye. And I also think some of these LinkedIn resignation messages are signaling to others, look what I'm doing. There's a path out of it. I tried. And we previously have chronicled people like in the Eastern District of Virginia who literally nailed to the wall when they walked out resignation letters that gave impassioned pleas to others. Get the hell out of here. This Trump regime gives you no chance of survival at all if you care about law and order. And I want to highlight what just went down as well. We've been chronicling how the DOJ has been losing its top talent and talent in general. As I said, 8,000 or so attorneys and staffers, paralegals are leaving. The brain drain is real. Federal judges are commenting about consistently how the Department of Justice is missing basic appearances. They're missing basic deadlines. They are not processing the paperwork. They are blowing statute of limitations. And this is, we talk about high profile cases, but across the board, criminal defense lawyers are feasting right now. They know that they can out-paper fairly easily the Department of Justice just by working a little bit harder, and the DOJ was usually the one who papered everybody else. So you may recall that last week we reported how the head of the antitrust division, somebody by the name of Assistant Attorney General Gail Slater, was forced out of her role because she did what she thought she was supposed to do. Even though she was a Trump and J.D. Vance pick, she actually believed when Trump and J.D. Vance said, we want you to go after big tech, that part of her role in antitrust was to ensure that big tech was not engaged in antitrust violations. But you see, when she did that, big tech complained to Donald Trump and they said, why is she going after big tech? We're doing your golden ballroom and we're doing your golden arch or your arc and we're doing all of these things. We're part of the same crew. You got to tell her to stop. And Trump and J.D. Vance told her, you got to stop doing this. And then she was like, no, you don't really mean that, right? And she kept on doing what she was doing. And they were like, no, you're out of here. Get the hell out of here. And they forced her to resign. But we covered that. But when you hear about a forced resignation like that, it's not just her. It's her whole team of pretty talented lawyers as well. They leave, and now they're being welcomed into private practice and firms that are going to pay them well, and they don't have to deal with this Trump regime stuff anymore. So as I talk about these LinkedIn resignations, you have a guy by the name of Mark Hammer, who was the Deputy Assistant Attorney General within the Antitrust Division. Basically, that means he was the number 2. He was Gail Slater's right-hand man. And when Gail Slater left, he leaves. The whole teams go as well. And these are actually talented lawyers who are still there. These aren't the best. There is still some talent there, and then they're leaving. Here's his post on LinkedIn. When Assistant Attorney General Gail Slater asked me to join her as Deputy Assistant Attorney General at DOJ's Antitrust Division, I committed to return to public service for a year. And what an extraordinary year it has been. The year 2025 was the high watermark for civil antitrust enforcement, with the largest docket of civil antitrust litigation matters in DOJ's history. Our enforcement cases and investigations targeted high-profile competition concerns in technology, healthcare, entertainment, agriculture, real estate, and financial service industries. It has been the privilege of a lifetime to serve alongside AAG Slater and her leadership team. She is a leader of exceptional wisdom, strength, and integrity. I was grateful to help her lead the hundreds of men and women of DOJ's Antitrust Division. They work tirelessly each day, often without credit or recognition, to preserve competitive markets for the American people. Their talent and dedication was inspiring and made my leadership role easy. I have decided the time is right for me to return to private practice. I am excited to announce that I will soon be rejoining my friends and colleagues at Baker McKenzie. More to announce on that front soon. To AAG Slater and all my DOJ colleagues, please keep up the great work for the American people. I want to bring in Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Substack, and podcast. Everybody search Talking Feds. Harry was a leader in the Washington, D.C.'s main office at the Department of Justice. He was also the top United States attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Now, Harry, when you read what Mark is saying there, he left private work where he was getting paid a pretty decent or good salary to work in this role where he hoped to further the interests of antitrust. And then he sees Slater fired. And so he's like, I'm leaving. I'll see you later. I mean, she was pushed out. I'm going to go back to Baker McKenzie and I'll just do my work there. But what he also mentions here, I don't think people know this, is that he says the hundreds of people, hundreds, who are working under him, you don't know their names, they don't get the recognition, they work every day, long hours, getting paid, like still a decent salary, good salary, but far less than they would make if they were in private practice. And a lot of them do this because of their view of service, their love of antitrust law, believing that they are enforcing the law fairly. And now they see what's going on and they know the writing's on the wall. And their work is being perverted. Like their work is now being turned upside down. And now these people go into work to fight for antitrust enforcement. And they end up being put in roles to help monopolies and duopolies form and price fix and price gouge. So they become agents of the very things that they're out there trying to protect against, Harry.
Lots of stuff going on here, Ben. Let's start with the letter. I'd call this a well-crafted Washington resignation letter. The first sentence is, I had told Assistant Attorney General Slater that I would be for about a year. That's another way of saying, I'm not getting kicked out, even though he may well be getting kicked out. This was always the plan, etc. So first is the CYA aspect of it. But I want to move to your basic point about the hollowing out and ravaging of DOJ, because those numbers are many divisions, and now you could point perhaps to antitrust, where there have been disproportionate point about the hollowing out and ravaging of DOJ, because he may well be getting kicked out. This was always the plan, etc. So first is the CYA aspect of it. But I want to move to your basic point about the hollowing out and ravaging of DOJ, because those numbers are eye-popping, triple anything you've ever seen, but they very dramatically understate what's going on in the following respects. First of all, there are many divisions, and now you could point perhaps to antitrust, where there have been disproportionate numbers of exits that essentially have decapitated the whole place. So when the department said, oh, we're not even going to investigate the Renee Good shooting, you had the top 4 people in the criminal section of the Civil Rights Division leave en masse, all resign, and that was a deafening vote of no confidence that has really reverberated throughout that small section as well as the country, really. Second, the department disproportionately relies on the sorts of people who have been there a while, who really have the seasoned judgment and know the kinds of cases that are done. So now this guy was a political guy. He's only been there for a year, but the story that you've told of the numbers doesn't take into account how many important people have been pushed to the side or have left because they can't abide it. Third, the people who remain, a big part of the story, and I've talked to some of them. You really have a very large element of sort of fear and loathing of the remaining people and the leadership, very little communication with them, very little respect from them, a fear of even saying the wrong thing by the water cooler, and a general kind of, paranoia that, again, is worse in certain settings. And I just want to add, it's even infected certain U.S. attorneys' offices like the one in Minnesota. And then your point forth, the people who remain, in many instances, are being asked to just turn 180 degrees on what they came there to do, and not simply in general kind of very politically charged cases, but overall antitrust, a very good example. By the way, your account, quite accurate, but left out an important point. Slater also was crosswise with Pam Bondi, and that led to her downfall. And those sorts of things can happen in this administration. Who knows what, individual who knows Bondi or knows Vance or knows Trump just put a bug in their ear, and that was it, because this administration just doesn't care about sound enforcement at all, and they've got buddies that they want to mollify, do favors for. That's one of the ways they gain power. So now antitrust, I guess one last thing. Typically, when a leader goes, there's some remaining people who can, if nothing else, just kind of keep the trains running. Here, with this guy also leaving, you have a general decapitation of antitrust, and antitrust is a very good example. You need confirmed people in place to actually green light serious enforcement prosecutions. Now they will either be indolent or possibly just word will come on from on high, read Bondi or Blanche, for the kind of work they're doing. So that leads to the final point I want to make, which is the people who are still around there, maybe trying to hang in, maybe trying to even do good, are in this kind of zombie land where even as the department has to beat the bushes to find any warm body, they are hiring people by tweets from Chad Mizell, the last chief of staff. They're not employing, because they have such mistrust for the good professional folks who are still in the department, have decided to stick it out, either to try to do good, or they can't afford to lose a job, or whatever it is. And in all those situations, the people who are there are so often idle, and their mission has just been set to the side. And so that's yet another way in which the ravages of the department are well understated by these numbers, which, as I say, are eye-popping in and of themselves.
You know, when people hear the term antitrust, it relates back to the Sherman Antitrust Act, which was created when all of these barons, you know, of the 19th century, late 19th century, that controlled the railroads and they controlled the oil, they would be owned by us like a single person or a single trust, and they would buy everybody up, and then they would price gouge, and they would price fix as like a cartel by controlling the entire markets. And it was anti-capitalistic in the sense that it would destroy free and fair competition. Just obviously we can have a deeper antitrust lecture than that, but antitrust law is very, very important, especially now as prices are increasing, because one of the fundamental things that antitrust law tries to prevent against is price fixing plans, and antitrust is both criminal and civil in nature. But what the antitrust division also is responsible for is looking at big mergers and whether or not certain mergers can be approved, and it has oversight over. So a lot of the fight here happened when Slater would not approve mergers that she found were clearly creating either monopolies or monopsonies, small clusters of ownership in an industry that would have the impact of ultimately screwing over the consumer. Now, even though she was a Trump pick, she was the Trump pick of what Trump was saying to the public, because Trump presented an image of, I'm going to go against big tech. That's what he said at his rallies. And he picked somebody who was actually not, saying I'm just going to be vengefully going after big tech, but someone who actually was enforcing antitrust law against big tech mergers in a fairly even-keeled application. That's what started to piss off the higher ups, the Bondis and the Trumps and the Trump donors and the lobbyists who were saying, why I thought you were our guy, Donald. Like, why do you have her do it? She's blocking our mergers. Like, what the hell's going on here? Tell her to stop. And she wouldn't. That's when she got into kind of the fight with Bondi. But ultimately, how it impacts the consumer now is that your prices go up. Some of the main reasons why groceries are more expensive and things are more expensive is because you may have one or two companies in a specific market, and they can, they'll see inflation, what it is. They'll never move the prices. They'll never adjust downward if inflation adjusts downward. So once the price is up, it never goes back down once they can set a new limit on the price. But then they'll also use momentary inflation or systemic inflation as pretext to then raise the prices even more to build in profit margins, while actually, if it was a fair market, they could reduce prices, but they don't, because they don't have to, because they control the market and there's not really competition. So anyway, I wanted to let people know, so who cares about all of this? This is why you should care about all of this, Harry.
It's exactly right. We should, and look, as you say, Ben, the impact of this kind of sort of exemption giving, which Trump loves to do, is generally in the market. People can think, I'll roll the dice on this. I won't be deterred by the prospect of a suit, because I got my guy who I'm paying $1 million a month and he can get into the Oval Office, etc. Look, antitrust enforcement ebbs and flows in different administrations. It's true. Some are more bullish, some are more bearish. But what it doesn't do is do it in this respect by the doling out of favors. The general watchword of the Department of Justice, justice without fear or favor, absolutely applies to antitrust enforcement and absolutely affects the kind of bottom line life of consumers across the country in gasoline lines and grocery stores and appliance stores and the like. And you can maybe defend a generally more liberal or more restrained antitrust policy, but the notion of, oh, really? Oh, she hurt your feelings? Don't worry, I'll call up and fire her tomorrow and her deputy will go. That kind of erraticness, so characteristic of Trump and Bondi, is disaster for solid regulation of the markets and antitrust enforcement.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Make sure you hit subscribe.
Y'all hit the like button, please. What is it? It's 3-something in the morning. I am still up. Lord have mercy. Failed what? Hold on. Bodies buried on Epstein's island.
And the existing files that were released from the... There is a new bombshell allegation.
Can the 45 people that's in you get this, sister? What you mean? You get this? Oh, are you saying I understand what's going on? Yeah.
In the Epstein files that dead bodies are buried on one of the deceased financier's famous properties. We are going through the allegations, the launch of a new investigation, and I'm going to bring on a professional coroner to discuss, is this even possible? Can the alleged bodies be found and properly examined? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
So that these kids...
Jeffrey Epstein has been called a lot of things, and he has been accused of a lot of things. There is a new bombshell allegation in the Epstein files that dead bodies are buried on one of the deceased financier's famous properties. We are going through the allegations, the launch of a new investigation, and I'm going to bring on a professional coroner to discuss, is this even possible? Can the alleged bodies be found and properly examined? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Jeffrey Epstein has been called a lot of things, and he has been accused of a lot of things. But killer? Being responsible for the cover-up of violent deaths? That would be a new one. But I gotta say, what are we supposed to make of these new allegations coming out of the Epstein files? Because as you may know, we've been covering as best as we can the existing files that were released from the Department of Justice. And something came out that we gotta talk about. Buried in millions and millions of pages, there is an email that has now stood out for a very dark reason. There is an email from November 2019. It's directed to an Edward Aragon. According to KOB4, he's a local radio host. The other names are redacted in this email, but this is what it says. Quote, Edward, this is sensitive, so it'll be the first and last email depending on your discretion. You can choose to take it or trash it, but this comes from a person that has been there and seen it all as a former staff at the Zorro. The material below was taken from Jeffrey Epstein's home as my insurance in case of future litigation against Epstein. Sorry, no questions. What is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know, somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madam G. Both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex. And there even appear to be links to purported sex videos, including one that says, sex video with minor. And then it goes on to say, please arrange for 1 Bitcoin BTC by 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, Thursday, 11/22/19, to the BTC wallet address. That's redacted. The USB will be sent anonymously to your attention by overnight courier upon receipt of the funds. You have my assurance this is exclusive, never shared before, no attorneys, no samples, no questions, please confirm ASAP. So Zorro, by the way, is referring to Zorro Ranch. It's about 30 miles south of Santa Fe, New Mexico. We've talked about this Epstein property before. We had found evidence that upon Epstein's death, he wanted this property, along with all of his major properties, to go to Corinna Shuliak, his purported secret girlfriend. This is in trust documents and will documents. Now, Epstein, based on the reporting here, apparently purchased the 7,500-acre property from former New Mexico Governor Bruce King in 1993. And there were several civil lawsuits that accused Epstein of sexually assaulting girls at this property. It was dubbed the Playboy Ranch, where Epstein, in fact, is accused of sexually abusing a 16-year-old girl as early as 1996. And for example, you have this unsealed 2016 court deposition where the Epstein accuser, renowned Epstein accuser, Virginia Giuffre, testified that Ghislaine Maxwell ordered her to give the late former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson a massage at the ranch. Now, this radio host, Aragon, said that he got this message anonymously. He sent the email to the FBI, which is why, by the way, it was in the Epstein files to begin with, why it was released from the DOJ. And he indicated that he didn't pay this person, which when you think about one Bitcoin back in the day.
Hey, y'all, I need for y'all to hit the like button or I'm going to shut it down. It's already late. So the least you can do is hit the like button or double tap the face on your phone, just like that. Don't cost you a thing. It don't cost you a thing. It won't charge you nothing. It's just saying thank you. And if you don't want to say thank you, then leave. Yeah, get out. You get this, okay? Yeah, I see you, Raymond. I'm talking about the ones who did not hit the like button. I mean, do they not know what time it is over here? Yeah, I'd rather it have nobody in here and I watch it by myself with Raymond or whoever else has hit the like button than you don't even want to say thank you and hit the like button. It's crazy to me. It's rude and disrespectful. So get out. There are 3 dots at the top right corner. Hit those 3 dots and hit the thumbs up. It's just that simple. Thank network. Okay, let's go.
It was reportedly worth about $8,000 at the time. And he indicated that while he spoke to an FBI agent, he never heard anything more from it, didn't know the status of the investigation. Now, let me be clear about something, okay? We couldn't find more corroborating evidence to support this claim that, there are dead bodies somewhere in the area of this ranch or on the ranch. We don't know if these allegations are true. But if they are true, when would this have happened? We don't know that either. But apparently, I will tell you, this ranch, this claim, is being taken seriously. And in a little bit, I'm going to be bringing on a professional coroner to determine what can we expect here? What potential evidence could be left behind? How can you even find a body? What will be left to actually examine? How much can we tell here? But the reason that we're even bringing a coroner on and talking about this is because this claim is getting serious attention. You have New Mexico's Land Commissioner, Stephanie Garcia Richard, who sent a letter to the New Mexico Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney's Office requesting a full investigation. According to KOB4, Epstein had apparently leased land around this ranch from the state land office, did it through a company called Cypress Inc., but Garcia Richard ended that lease in light of what happened with Epstein. And in a further escalation, the Chief Deputy Attorney General, James Grayson, said the Department of Justice is taking these allegations seriously, only has so much information right now to go forward with because they're working to try to get the original documents to try to verify these accusations. Grayson saying, quote, "As we understand it, the allegations appear to be unsubstantiated and stem from an anonymous individual referencing events that purportedly occurred more than 6 years ago. We will work to obtain the original unredacted emails and any underlying files, as access to complete and authentic materials is critical to our assessment and planning. These circumstances raise significant concerns regarding the reliability, authenticity, and credibility of the claims. Notwithstanding those concerns, we are prepared to review and assess any verifiable information should it be provided through appropriate and lawful means." Stephanie Garcia Richard saying, quote, "It is our responsibility to manage this land, and if it was being used for nefarious purposes, if it was being used for criminal purposes, we need to know." All right, before we move on, I gotta give a quick shout out to our partner, CyberGhost VPN. Look, have you ever hesitated to connect to public Wi-Fi, like in a restaurant, airport, work, school, because you're afraid someone might steal your information? It's totally reasonable. The truth is, eyes are watching you every time you go online. Private, stay secure, unlock global content, get guarantee. Click the link in the description. Unredacted copies of this email. And you had the New Mexico Department of Justice Chief of Staff, Lauren Rodriguez,
Now, in some latest reporting, the New Mexico Department of Justice apparently sent a letter to the feds seeking the unredacted copies of this email, and you had the New Mexico Department of Justice Chief of Staff Lauren Rodriguez telling Source New Mexico in a statement, quote, "While we have not yet received a response to our letter sent last Friday, we are reviewing all appropriate avenues to investigate the allegations raised, as well as any additional ones that may emerge. We also continue to engage with the Truth Commission leadership to ensure coordinated communication and meaningful participation in the ongoing fact-finding mission." I'm going to talk about the Truth Commission in a minute. Now, back to Garcia Richard. She said in an interview, while the state land office sent hundreds of pages of Zorro Ranch leasing records to the New Mexico Attorney General in 2019, Garcia Richard said, "I have a lot of frustration that we are now 7 years beyond the initial cancellation of the leases, and to my knowledge, not one member of law enforcement has. We are fully committed to assisting with an investigation in any way possible, including providing access to state lands adjacent to the former Zorro Ranch." So assuming, these bodies are really buried, where exactly are they buried? You even had U.S. Representative Melanie Stansberry, who issued a video recorded statement.
"I spent a fair amount of my time this morning looking at the files on Zorro Ranch. There's some dark stuff there, and I think it's really important that our colleagues, State House Representatives Mariana Anaya and Andrea Romero, are conducting this Truth Commission, because the FBI never did a full forensic investigation of the ranch property, and it's clear that crimes were committed there, and people knew about it. There were victims who went to the FBI, who went to law enforcement, and those crimes were never followed up on, and the ranch was sold from the estate before a full investigation could be done. So there's a lot of unanswered questions about Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, what went down there, why it was not fully investigated, why people were not held accountable. And frankly, as a New Mexican, to anyone who was hurt there, my heart goes out to you.
Guess what happened yesterday? New Mexico lawmakers on Monday, they passed legislation to launch a full-scale investigation here. You have a committee of both Republicans and Democrats who are going to have subpoena power. They're going to try to get testimony from survivors of the alleged abuse that happened at this ranch and local residents to testify, all at the state capitol. So the person who maybe sent that 2019 email, will they come forward? I don't know. But according to Reuters, this probe is going to cost about $2.5 million, reportedly funded through a settlement between the AG's office and financial services companies for failing to address the alleged abuses at this property. And the idea is here, they want to transform the law. They want to amend the law that may have allowed Jeffrey Epstein to allegedly operate the way he's accused of operating at this property. And the preliminary findings are due in July. There's a full final report that's going to be due by year's end. And you have to wonder, is it going to include allegations about dead bodies? Representative Andrea Romero, she said that they're going to use subpoenas and public records and testimonies, quote, to put the whole story together. And in a statement following the vote to launch all this, Romero said that, quote, New Mexicans deserve to know the truth about what went on at the Zorro Ranch and who knew about it. We have heard years of allegations and rumors about Epstein's activities in New Mexico, but unfortunately, federal investigators have failed to put together an official record. With this Truth Commission, we can finally fill in the gaps by investigating the failures that led to the horrific allegations of abuse and crime at Zorro Ranch, so we can learn from them and prevent such atrocities from taking place in our state going forward. This is a complication, maybe a complication, gotta mention it. So while the 1,200 acres that were previously leased by Epstein's company is still public and unleased, this is according to Garcia Richard, guess who owns the actual ranch today? The family of Texas businessman and politician Donald Huffines. It was bought in 2023 by an LLC. This LLC was apparently created just 1 month before. And Huffines is actually running for statewide comptroller's office. And according to the New Mexican, the Zorro Ranch was renamed the San Rafael Ranch, located at San Rafael Road, By the way, what was the purchase price? Reportedly, it was listed in 2021 for over $27 million, but the sales price may have dropped to $18 million. We don't know what it was actually bought for. Although I will tell you, there's a side note. The LLC made the argument, given the ties to Epstein, along with a lower sales price, that's why it was actually valued at only $13.4 million in 2023 for tax purposes. Interesting side note. By the way, public business filings apparently indicated that at one point, Huffines' son, Colin, was the manager of the LLC. Then you had Alan Blakemore, spokesperson for the family, who released the statement saying, 4 years after Mr. Epstein's death, the Huffines family purchased property in New Mexico listed at public auction, whose proceeds benefited his victims. Prior to the auction listing, they had never visited the property. Now, I will tell you this. The Huffines family did indicate that they would fully cooperate with this New Mexico investigation if authorities wanted to search the property. That's big. And it is being reported that the feds haven't even searched this ranch as of December 2019. So one of the things that's come out is you had the former AG, Hector Balderas, wrote a letter to then U.S. Attorney John Anderson in October of 2019 about a joint investigation. Quote, my office has been actively investigating and assisting other state and federal agencies with their investigations related to criminality perpetrated in New Mexico by Jeffrey Epstein. And Balderas wrote and requested that the United States Attorney's Office, quote, explore initiating the process to seize Epstein's New Mexico land holdings. But now all these years later, it's coming up again. And by the way, Zorro Ranch, it came up quite a bit in the Epstein files. Several photographs released in the Epstein files show women or girls, their faces apparently redacted at Zorro Ranch. I'll give you an example. In the files, there's a 2015 itinerary, or that's what it appears to be, presumably for Epstein, and it says, Saturday, August 1st, 2015, Zorro. Sunday, August 2nd, 2015, Zorro, San Francisco. Reminder, Leighton to the island today, 11:18 a.m., depart Zorro, 12:18 p.m., arrive San Jose. There's a lot of correspondence regarding the ranch, too, in the Epstein files. In fact, it appears the ranch is mentioned over 4,000 times. A lot of the correspondence between 2012 and 2018, you have the ranch as the sender or receiver in emails. There's even an email signature that says Zorro Management LLC. So with all that in mind, what would it take for there to be an excavation of potential bodies on this property? And if bodies are found, what would it show? That's what I want to talk about. Okay, so I want to bring on Richland County Coroner, Dr. Nada Rutherford. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's good to see you. Okay, this is a big allegation. We don't know if this is true. Obviously, we're talking about the fact that now an investigation is being launched into this property. You know, it's about sexual abuse allegations, but who knows what else they might be able to find during the course of this if they have residents and you know, survivors speak out about what they saw. What would it take for authorities to actually go around the property and try to excavate to find bodies? Let's start right there.
First of all, you have New Mexico. The terrain there is going to be extremely difficult. It's dry, it's rugged terrain, it's rough. So any excavation that's going to happen, they're going to need to have some idea about where this could possibly take place on this property, unless they're going to dig up the entire property, which is not very prudent of them. So they would need some sort of ground penetrating devices that could help to look and see if there's some sort of grave there, if they put this person in a box, if they buried them with something special that's not supposed to be in the ground naturally. So they're going to need a lot of technology first before they just go digging around this property.
And it's a big property. It's a big property, and this allegation is not even clear about when these people were allegedly buried there, which makes me wonder, even if you were digging,
I missed this, yeah.
Actually bought for, although I will tell you there's a side note. The LLC made the argument, given the ties to Epstein, along with a lower sales price, that's why it was actually valued at only $13.4 million in 2023 for tax purposes. Interesting side note. By the way, public business filings apparently indicated that at one point, Huffines' son, Colin, was the manager of the LLC. Then you had Alan Blakemore, spokesperson for the family, who released the statement saying, 4 years after Mr. Epstein's death, the The Huffines family purchased property in New Mexico listed at public auction, whose proceeds benefited his victims. Prior to the auction listing, they had never visited the property. Now, I will tell you this. The Huffines family did indicate that they would fully cooperate with this New Mexico investigation if authorities wanted to search the property. That's big. And it is being reported that the feds haven't even searched this ranch as of December 2019. So one of the things that's come out is you had the former AG, Hector Balderas, wrote a letter to then U.S. Attorney John Anderson in October of 2019 about a joint investigation. Quote, "My office has been actively investigating and assisting other state and federal agencies with their investigations related to criminality perpetrated in New Mexico by Jeffrey Epstein." And Balderas wrote and requested that the United States Attorney's Office, quote, "explore initiating the process to seize Epstein's New Mexico land holdings." But now, all these years later, it's coming up again. And by the way, Zorro Ranch, it came up quite a bit in the Epstein files. Several photographs released in the Epstein files show women or girls, their faces apparently redacted, at Zorro Ranch. I'll give you an example. In the files, there's a 2015 itinerary, or that's what it appears to be, presumably for Epstein, and it says, Saturday, August 1st, 2015, Zorro. Sunday, August 2nd, 2015, Zorro, San Francisco. Reminder, Leighton to the island today, 11:18 a.m., depart Zorro, 12:18 p.m., arrive San Jose. There's a lot of correspondence regarding the ranch, too, in the Epstein files. In fact, it appears the ranch is mentioned over 4,000 times. A lot of the correspondence between 2012 and 2018, you have the ranch as the sender or receiver in emails. There's even an email signature that says Zorro Management LLC. So with all that in mind, what would it take for there to be an excavation of potential bodies on this property? And if bodies are found, what would it show? That's what I want to talk about. Okay, so I want to bring on Richland County Coroner, Dr. Nada Rutherford. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's good to see you. Okay, this is a big allegation. We don't know if this is true. Obviously, we're talking about the fact that now an investigation is being launched into this property. You know, it's about sexual abuse allegations, but who knows what else they might be able to find during the course of this, if they have residents and
a lot of bodies.
Survivors speak out about what they saw. What would it take for authorities to actually go around the property and try to excavate to find bodies? Let's start right there.
First of all, you have New Mexico. The terrain there is going to be extremely difficult. It's dry, it's rugged terrain, it's rough. So any excavation that's going to happen, they're going to need to have some idea about where this could possibly take place on this property, unless they're going to dig up the entire property, which is not very prudent of them. So they would need some sort of ground penetrating devices that could help to look and see if there's some sort of grave there, if they put this person in a box, if they buried them with something special that's not supposed to be in the ground naturally. So they're going to need a lot of technology first before they just go digging around this property.
And it's a big property. It's a big property, and this allegation is not even clear about when these people were allegedly buried there, which makes me wonder, even if you were digging, what could you potentially find? What would be left over?
You're going to have skeletal remains at this point. These allegations purport that this happened so long ago. And so not only did they say that these are possibly minors, so you have smaller bodies that are potentially buried. You have scavengers that are in this area, again, animals that are indigenous to this area that are, again, it is very hard to dig a grave unless you have special equipment. So, and especially on that type of terrain. So did they have special equipment? We know that, supposedly these people have a lot of money, they have a lot of resources. So if they tapped into those resources, they could have done this properly. But again, that's why the technology piece of this is going to be so important, to be able to see where they could have possibly buried someone. And then the amount of time that has passed, it's going to be grown over. You're not going to be able to see, freshly disturbed ground as you would for someone who has maybe been recently buried. And so again, this is going to take a long time. And those excavation efforts are probably just going to reveal skeletal remains, which then you're going to have to extract DNA DNA from possibly the femur bones. And then who are these supposed minors that were there? Do their families know that they're missing? Where were they trafficked from? So not only are you trying to pinpoint country of origin, possibly, since they said that these minors were possibly from foreign countries, now you're going to have to try to track down family utilizing DNA. Skeletal remains, again, you look at the femur bone, you're trying to gather the DNA from there, but what else could you do? Dental records and things, but you must know the identity of the person in order to be able to do that.
Can you elaborate on that? So even if they find remains, you're saying it could be very, very difficult to establish A, identity, but B, cause and manner of death?
Absolutely, unless they did something that affected the skeleton of the person. Soft tissue injuries are not going to be readily apparent in someone who has been buried, especially if they've been buried for a really long time. That soft tissue eventually becomes desiccated and goes away. It goes back to the earth. And so you're not going to see much. So unless they were blunt force trauma, stabbed, shot, something like that, you may not see those things. You could see broken bones potentially, but again, how well preserved is the skeleton? And that's going to be very important. How quickly were these persons supposedly buried? Again, lots of allegations, lots of speculation, but if you are searching for bones, then you're going to need technology to look over all of that terrain.
So in other words, if we take these allegations as true,
Hi,
that you
Debbie.
had these
Thank you
girls
for the
die as a
bronze
result
medal.
of strangulation, it may be very difficult to actually see that.
Yes, it will. And again, how well was the body preserved before burial? Meaning the hyoid bone, which is located here in the neck, it's a protected bone, but usually that's what we see broken in someone who has died from strangulation. And so you'll see that piece again of the hyoid bone broken off, but you also see soft tissue injury. So if the body is not well preserved, then you're not going to see those things. And again, after all this time, all of that soft tissue is going to be gone. So in a regular autopsy where we suspect strangulation, you're going to see petechial hemorrhaging. You're going to see bleeding within the strap muscles of the neck. You're going to see that damage that happens from someone being strangled. But in skeletons, you don't see those things. Again, unless there is severe blunt force injury to that area. And again, small, tiny bones. You have insects and things that are going to feed on the body when it's buried. And so, again, you may lose a lot of that evidence.
A couple of questions about that, and I apologize if you're repeating yourself. I just want to clarify. Is there any way to determine the age, whether it's from an anthropologist coming in or looking at the, like you said, maybe dental records if it's possible, or
at the
bones? Is there any way to determine age?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where a forensic anthropologist is going to be really important. We have two that work in our office, PhDs, who teach me so much on a daily basis about just how they make these determinations. So femur length is going to be important. They're going to measure those bones. They're going to make sure that any part of that skeletal remain that they find, that they try to put that body together as anatomically correct as possible. And then they'll start getting their information from there. So again, the measurements of those bones, not only just the femur length, but also head circumference and those different things, basing those anthropology measurements, those are going to be very important in terms of assessing them and comparing them to what someone's age could be for the measurements that they find. So again, I always refer to forensic anthropologists on that, and they're going to need quite a few if they do get to a point where they're going to do excavation, because you don't want to lose any evidence. You can't just dig it up. It has to be done very carefully, methodically, and it's a very time-intensive process.
And can you just elaborate a little bit more on the dental records, what may or may not be available there?
Y'all hit the like button, please.
So whenever we look at dental records, we look at the shape of the jaw. We look for any fillings, any cavities, any bridge work, anything that may be present, braces. For example, they come from someplace. So again, they're useless if we don't know a potential identity of the person.
That's what the
because
doctor's
we would have to be able to go to that dental office and subpoena
God.
those records and say, hey, could you please give us the dental records for this person so that we can compare what we have found with these skeletal remains. Again, I think TV sometimes tricks us into thinking that we can just use dental records and all of a sudden we can find out everything we need to know about a person. But you have to have
That
a
is sad,
possible
Debbie.
identity for someone before you just go digging through dental records.
Well, let's say there's a crown or a filling or braces. There's no way to extract DNA from that?
Sometimes there is, but you have the femur bone, which is going to give you a lot more information. So any of the bones, you can get DNA from them, but that femur bone is going to have the best, and that's usually what we utilize. They cut a little window into the bone, and that's usually what's utilized for DNA and those purposes. So again, that larger bone is going to have more information.
What happens, again, we're speculating here, but assuming there are bodies here for a moment, if they're buried with items, I'm not saying that there would be ID, but if they're buried wearing clothing, would any of the clothing or materials that were buried with them, would that remain at that point? What have you seen in your experience? I'm not, because obviously if you're dealing with somebody who's nude, right, that's kind of what we're talking about, but if they were buried with articles of clothing or items, talk to me about the ability of that to be preserved and the ability to extract DNA or other forensic material from it.
No, there's definitely the possibility of extracting DNA and other items. You have to think hairs. People often don't think about your hair sheds. Other fibers get transferred during burial process. Most people are not experienced criminals, and that's what people fail to realize. Most people have not committed these types of crimes before, and so they make a lot of mistakes in the process. Again, what kind of resources they had access to, I don't know. And again, I don't know anything about this case. I'm simply commenting on the possibility that bodies are on this land. And so for me, for my office, when we've had skeletal remains partially buried or buried for a long time, and we've done the ground penetrating radar and found what we needed to find, we removed those skeletal remains very carefully. So even the area, the dirt around the body, we're going to preserve a lot of that.
Hit the like button. Hit the 3 dots at the top right corner. Hit the like button, please. Double tap the face of your screen. Or leave. Hit the 3 dots at the top right. Hit the like button. Or leave. It's just that simple. Oh, okay. We're going to stay right here until the lights go up. Hey, keep it moving. I ain't went to sleep at all. Thank you. Oh, it didn't go up. The lights didn't go up. I don't know what's happening. These people absolutely have no soul. The cruelty is so evil. A lot of these babies come from other countries. Yep. I don't know what's going on. The lights didn't go up. Oh yeah, I speak on this just about every day. That's why I wanted to come in and still do my normal, even though I didn't, handle it early like I normally do. Let's go.
As well, and take samples from it, because it can sometimes give you great information. So there is the possibility that very valuable information can be obtained from what was buried with that person.
They know those
and usually
babies are there.
what we see in our line of work is when people bury someone, they bury their stuff with them. So the DNA from their things, if they put something in someone's mouth, it could possibly have saliva on it. of resources they had access to, I don't know. And again, I don't know anything about this case. I'm simply commenting on the possibility that bodies are on this land. And so for me, for my office, when we've had skeletal remains partially buried or buried for a long time, and we've done the ground penetrating radar and found what we needed to find, we remove those skeletal remains very carefully. So even the area, the dirt around the body, we're going to preserve a lot of that as well and take samples from it, because it can sometimes give you great information. So there is the possibility that very valuable information can be obtained from what was buried with that person. And usually what we see in our line of work is when people bury someone, they bury their stuff with them. So the DNA from their things, if they put something in someone's mouth that could possibly have saliva on it, which again has DNA, hair, just because the skeletal remains are there, it doesn't mean that the hair goes away. Sometimes we find skeletons that still have hair attached. So again, these are things that could be very helpful in determining the identity of this person, but it could also give us pertinent information about who may have buried this person.
Like you said, like hair of someone else. So just to be clear, hair can stay for quite some time, even if buried underground?
Yes, it can. I mean, we've seen this with excavations from around the world and looking at people from the supposed Neanderthal, era. They have found hair. And so, again, that gives you a lot of information. And hair retains things. It retains things like drugs. It retains nutritional information sometimes. So, again, anything that's with that body, they're going to want, and they're going to want to excavate this in the most careful way possible. I cannot stress this enough, that they cannot just go in there just digging and doing it very roughly. It needs to be layer by layer by layer, and it is a very time-intensive process. Shout out to all of the forensic anthropologists out there, because their work, especially on a case like this, is going to be so vital.
What would it take for an excavation to be ordered in something like this? In your experience, when you've seen cases, I mean, there's one thing to have this right now uncorroborated account, but obviously they're taking it seriously. They're trying to look into it and see what they can find. In your experience, what would it take for them to go around the property, to excavate, to use ground penetrating devices to try to find a body? What would it take?
They made a deal with the devil.
Well, usually it takes that someone is missing and they have a possible location for this missing person. I know here in Richland County, we receive calls all the time. Hey, we need help. We have a tip that this missing person may be in this well, or they may be in this part of this 40-acre piece of land. And we will work with other agencies to utilize their technology to see if this is a possibility that someone is there. And then we have cases like the case of Adriana Laster, who they were just digging in the landfill and bones were found. So again, what bones found? Is there some sort of suspicion that there are missing persons on this property? So usually it just takes someone leaving a tip or giving information that could be related to a missing person for them to go and start digging. But again, they are going to need technology to even begin looking through all of this land, because there's just so much of it. How do you find which section? Are they going to go section by section and do a grid kind of dig? I don't know, but it's going to take a lot of logistics.
And how long would that take if they went section by section using ground penetrating devices? I mean, how quickly can you get a hit?
Weeks, months. For an area that is known to possibly have a buried person, that can take a couple of hours. But for the amount of land that these researchers and that these investigators are looking at, this could take weeks in order to pinpoint an area. So they may have to have multiple devices out there trying to find what is possibly a grave.
Dr. Nada Rutherford, this is a fascinating discussion. We are obviously in the early preliminary stages of this, but I wanted to have you on just to give us something to think about as we're trying to understand this allegation. And now that there's an investigation into this property, how can I not talk about it? But again, really interesting things to think about. So we'll see what...
Okay, so I guess y'all ready for me to end it, because y'all not hitting the like button. And I'm not going to stay any longer if y'all can't hit the like button.
Are we hosting for the game tomorrow?
No.
Are we hosting for the game tomorrow?
No. Hosting.
He was working for the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds created a nation state of Israel. And so I think the dam on that conversation. It's very obvious that what's missing are
That's a big piece
the
of land.
current
Sure
active
is.
Mossad type agents in the United States that we know were intimately involved with Epstein. So he's wanted to turn the chapter on that full stop, which was so censored and banned, is now mainstream thanks to Jeffrey Epstein's emails, where he said that. And like I said, he said this. He was working for the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds created a nation state of Israel. And so I think the dam on that conversation is finally breaking, and I'm very happy about that.
Trump is totally tainted by the Epstein scandal or the Epstein cover-up. That's what Candace Owens is telling the Hodge twins here. And what I think is so interesting about this clip is she gets into why she believes Trump was willing to expend so much political capital and effectively
She still
tank his
believes in Trump,
administration over this scandal, that he deliberately decided to conceal the details, and it does seem to be embarrassment over the Israeli connection with Epstein. So let's get into what she thinks about it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
I want to show you this clip of Trump, who was asked about the Epstein files. Here's the clip here.
Epstein conspired against me. So that takes care of Epstein as far as Trump is concerned.
He don't
but
get
you have
back.
a lot of Democrats out there that are very much involved with Epstein. But I'll be honest with you, you got to get back to running the country too.
On the Epstein files, you talk about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and correspondence that he had with him.
But it's been
Did
there
you
maybe
read
for
those new files
years.
that were public Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, and a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names.
He don't get back.
I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines. I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. You know, now that nothing came out about me,
I
other
am
than it was a
tapping hard.
conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to the survivors who
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
asking you about survivors.
You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth. And you're
All she doing is asking you a question. How she not telling you the
They should be
truth?
ashamed of you.
The first time I saw that, it was out of context, and he was just berating her. I said, "Wow, he really roasted her. She must have said something stupid." Then I went back, Candace, and I looked at the full video, and I looked at the context. I'm like, "Why did he snap like that?"
Well, he doesn't want to discuss the Epstein files even before the dump, right? So we knew that, obviously, and I think maybe Project Veritas had done some work and said that his had revealed a video that someone said his donors were in the files, and we obviously have not received the full files. It's very obvious that what's missing are the current active Mossad type agents in the United States that we know were intimately involved with Epstein. So he's wanted to turn the chapter on that full stop. Is she being intentionally provocative? Yes, of course, it's CNN. Is she trying to make it seem like Trump was implicated in the Epstein files? For sure. But to her broader point, saying that the victims of abuse, that is a valid question. So
Yeah, it's a totally valid question, and frankly, Trump's admin is tainted by this. Of course, he's saying, yeah, I'm sure the connections with Lutnick are just fine, even though Lutnick lied about cutting connections with Epstein, and not only then did he dabble with the sexual abuser, he did so with his entire family. He brought his whole family to Epstein Island in 2012
Oh, yeah, that's
after
horrible.
knowing this about Epstein and after lying about it through his mouth about this. It's just so sick and twisted. And for Trump to try to treat this like it's some just liberal smear against him. No, you decided to cover it up. It's only because of patriots like Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ro Khanna that pushed back against Trump and kind of forced his hand on this. And I'm sorry, Trump, you are implicated in this cover-up, whether or not you're
Absolutely.
implicated in Epstein's crimes. And there were some tip line reports from
Absolutely.
these files that suggest at least
But he
people
still
raised
think he can
some
tell us
questions
anything and we're
about
gonna
you, and
believe
not
it.
only questions, but allegations that you were involved in some of these crimes. Now, I'll give it that a lot of them don't have dates and times and like victims' names and stuff like that, and a lot of it is in the context of like FBI reporting lines. But at the same time, you are tainted for covering up, and the cover-up seems to have served the purpose of covering for Steve Bannon, covering for Howard Lutnick, covering for Peter Thiel, who's closely interwoven
Oh, wait
into
till
your
y'all
company
see
as well as part of the Palantir surveillance state
Jim
right now.
Jordan,
And it's also the connection to your
Lindsey,
favorite country in the
Judge,
Middle East, Israel, who guides your
Supreme
administration
Court
in its foreign
Judge,
policies. That seems to have
Andy
been what have happened
Biggs.
here.
When you say let's turn the page on the Epstein files, you are making a remark that impacts the people who were swept up in what was a child sex trafficking operation, which is still being covered by the elites who it served.
And
Which,
it's
by the
probably
way,
still
it
active
goes right back to
since
Israel,
they
and that's why he
snuck
doesn't want
out
to discuss it. And I
Ghislaine
want to be
Maxwell
clear, this is what I mean when I say
and
he's out of touch with his
Epstein
voters.
probably still alive.
We care about this. Okay, moms care about whether or not child rapists
Go
are
out
running
and
the world.
come back
Dads
in,
care about
Debbie.
whether or not child rapists are running the world.
Go
That's
out and
not
come
a
back in.
leftist talking point. If we can't protect children, we're not even a nation, right?
Right.
We have totally violated the social contract.
Try that.
Our government has totally violated the social contract if we can't even protect children.
Right.
So this is why people feel like we're on the brink of a civil war.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so out of touch, and it's not out of touch. It's just a deliberate cover-up. You know, people cared about getting to the bottom of this. People cared about the transparency inherent of revealing the truth, which they'll never do. They're still sitting on 2 million additional documents that haven't even been shown to members of Congress.
Debbie
And the documents
just
you
sent
did give out, covered up a lot of the
bronze
associates with
medals,
Epstein
so
with redactions.
somewhere it
And
works,
guess what?
so it
You
got to be on
unredacted
your
victims'
end.
names. And guess where you did most of your redactions in those black classic blocks? A little old document that says co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. That's what they did. So yeah, this is Bongino backing him, saying keep your eye on the Epstein case. We got to know the truth. Epstein out of support in the run-up to the 2024 campaign. He had people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino backing him, saying keep your eye on the Epstein case. We got to know the truth. Epstein didn't kill himself. We have to look into these files and, decrypt this elite pedophile ring that seems to be involved in more than child sex trafficking, and indeed it was in intelligence operations, business
He don't
deals.
want them
You have emails
other
saying,
3
hey,
million
your littlest one was a little naughty.
files
It's just so
exposed for
insane
sure.
that this has been construed as a Democratic hoax. He's still going with that.
Because they're kind of saying, yeah, we don't care. Yeah, sure, we had an island. Sure, it was built after an Egyptian temple. Children were being sacrificed. It had a sublayer. But we're now over that because we got him out of a prison and he's happily living probably in Tel Aviv. Like, that's not going to work. That can't be the messaging going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't like when he keeps calling it a hoax. It's like, why would you use that verbiage? Why would you use that language?
And he
to
know
describe
good dang
the
well it's
Epstein?
not.
It's like a smack in the face to all the victims of him. Yeah.
It's because they do think that we're a cult. And I think Trump started to believe that everything he said, his followers would get behind because we fought so hard for him when he was actually wronged. But the important piece that he's missing is he had actually been wronged. In this circumstance, the victims of Epstein's network were the people that were actually harmed.
That's exactly right. They went after him over Russiagate, a farce that he was operating as a Putin agent within the United States as he's actively exacerbating tensions with Russia in his first term, withdrawing from the INF, giving Javelin weapons that he still boasts about sometimes to Ukraine. All these things, and they asserted that he was an insurrectionist leader on January 6th.
He was.
Even though, no, he said, don't cause an insurrection, do be peaceful. And you had people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, and Thomas Massey standing behind him saying, this whole thing is a deep state, framing
Did
to
it
try
work, Debbie?
to undermine the president and, ignore the will of the American electorate. That was correct. So I guess he thought it would just work again to call this a hoax, like Russiagate clearly was, and just hope that much of his base would cling to it. And some of them have. The Cat Turds of the world, the Ben Shapiros of the world, the Mark Levins, Laura Loomers, and all of those people have clung to this. Even Alex Jones, who's supposedly a conspiracy theorist guy, except for this, of course, clings to this and defends him over it. But a lot of his support base has peeled off of it. A lot of liberals just think this is a monolith, a cult, and there is cultish elements to it. But he's lost a ton of support over this as well.
Right. What do you think about a lot of Christians are not familiar with the Talmud or the faith of Judaism? Like this term is called goyim. It's a reference that's been going viral, and if you look on Google, people are actually starting to become familiar about this term, and it's an eye-opening experience for a lot of people. Like they're not familiar with the culture of Israelis spitting on Christians in Israel. Yeah. And what does that term Judeo-Christianity mean to you? Or is it just
some made up crap?
It's to me, it's one of the infinite genders that's been created by the left. It's like, we'll just hyphenate. And, he's a he, she, z, b, 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 they be. You're a Christian. You can be a Christian. You can be a Jew. You can be a Muslim. Once you get into hyphenating, what we're trying to do is it's just a psychological operation. But I also want to be clear, I do not view Israel has nothing to do with Judaism. That's just its latest mask. And I talk about this on my show. Even that plays into Israel's hand by allowing them to conflate Israel with Judaism.
Absolutely. This is the best point I think she's made, is that's part of the propaganda, to try to make it seem indistinguishable, the line being blurred more and more between Judaism and this modern nation state. That's the goal, such that you can't criticize
lab created, GMO Israel.
That's what they've tried to do.
They need to call it a GMO Israel.
Done it to the most prominent critics of Israel that are Jewish, like Norman Finkelstein.
Ain't that it? GMO? A lab created, made up, and trying to push it off as if it's biblical. It's a GMO.
He's the son of Holocaust survivors, and they called him anti-Semitic. They've called Dave Smith that, Max Blumenthal that, Aaron Mate that, Glenn Greenwald that. But there is a difference, obviously so. It's just part of a propaganda game, such that this country gets to rule our country, despite it being bankrolled by our country. It's just so perverted, toxic, and warped, but that's the political reality we're living in. And Goyim is used by a lot of the Jewish supremacists as a term of diminishment to people that are not Jews. And Jeffrey Epstein used a lot of that language in these disclosures. It's one thing that's, of course, being ignored by the corporate media, but you do see it. If you don't believe me, search jmail.world, which is a replication of his email. As if you were logged in as him, you can see his exchanges, and he uses it all the time in such a way.
Okay. This is just a radical group of warmongers. Zionism is a political philosophy. Actually, that religion is satanic when you get into it. It's mysticism that informed the creation of the modern state of Israel, and I cover this extensively on my book club. And it's Sabbatianism, it's Frankism. That is their actual faith. They're masquerading as Jews at times. They masquerade as Christians. That's why you have these Judeo-Christian types like pastors, Rob McCoy, and those ilk. What unites them is Israel, and their political philosophy is Zionism. So
Yeah, Zionism itself is the religion. It's not Judaism, it's Zionism, the idea that we have to bankroll through military and political support this modern Israeli nation that, by the way, drags us into wars that have been disastrous for the United States, like Libya and Syria and Iraq and Somalia. And just there's no benefit for citizens, and we're bankrolling a genocide for them and make excuses for them. And Trump says, hey, you should dismiss charges for fraud and corruption against Netanyahu in the Knesset, making excuses for it and inviting him to the White House for a 7th time in this term. It just gives away the game, how much control they have over this. This is their religion. It's not Judaism. It's modern genocide and warfare in the Middle East for the Greater Israel Project. That's what it is.
That's my perspective.
Yeah, Officer Tatum, he called himself a, what do you call himself? A black Zionist.
Well, look, so first,
Yeah, go ahead.
what are your thoughts? Go ahead, I'll let you go.
Y'all love him. He's got a beautiful family. I don't wish no ill will toward him. We've had him on our podcast. Yeah, and I haven't lost no respect for him. I want to bring him back on the show. It's like, but when I hear people say they're black Zionists, I'm like, where do you think he's getting his information from?
I'm not sure. I think I would love to have that conversation with him. I would definitely love to take him through the history of Zionism because I think he's probably getting it.
Okay, y'all, I think this is going to be my last time asking y'all to double tap the face of your screen and get the likes up. I don't think I'm going to ask again. I'm just going to end it. This don't make no sense to me. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I have not went to sleep from the 17th. And y'all can't hit the like button. You got to get up out of here, boo-boo. Do y'all see those little hearts going up on my side over there? Trying to see something. Debbie, can you see those hearts going up on the side over there? Yeah, I see the hearts going up. I'm just double checking. Come on, hit the like button, y'all.
To be honest, from church. If we think about where most people's perspectives.
And I haven't lost no respect for him. I want to bring him back on the show. It's like, but when I hear people say they're black Zionists, I'm like, where do you think he's getting his information from?
The devil.
I'm not sure. I think I would love to have that conversation with him. I would definitely love to take him through the history of Zionism because I think he's probably getting it, to be honest, from church. If we think about where most people's perspectives, and I include my former perspectives on Zionism, right? I was with Charlie. We were like, yeah, sure, we're Christian Zionists. Right. And a lot of history is intentionally rinsed from the textbooks.
Absolutely.
At
to
school.
manipulate.
And so our understanding of history almost comes from like movies when I revisit my prior ideas.
Right.
You know, the worst thing that ever happened was World War II and the Holocaust. It's like what we know is what's put in front of us. And so I would obviously love an opportunity to put something else in front of him. Brennan, to me, he's like a brother. So I have the same relationship with Brandon that I have with Charlie. Right. Charlie will annoy me if I have something to say to Charlie. Always went directly to Charlie, constantly bickering behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So I see Brandon as like a cousin, and so I can't wait to see Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to know that she has character to maintain close relationships with people that really disagrees with this issue with her, an issue she cares about. You know, I can't speak to Brandon, but I totally disagree with him in relation to the Israel issue. I think he's exposed himself to some degree, especially on Piers Morgan when he debated Dave Smith and didn't seem to know about the history of the conception of Israel, what was involved in that, when conflict happened and why that conflict started. And it was for the central planning of this Israeli state which was created as a land distribution scheme to take land from the Palestinians and give it to a minority faction that was backed by globalists and the United States and Britain. He's kind of exposed himself, but I'm glad that there's still this discourse. I can't speak to Brandon's motives or whether he's paid. Israel is trying to pay a lot of influencers right now. It became famous last year when that story came out that they were paying influencers as much as $7,000 per post. This has been substantiated. That might be happening with Brandon, but it also behooves us to try to correct people that are wrong if they're being respectful and open to those discussions. The problem is people like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and the most zealous Zionists aren't open to those discussions. They just want their foreign regime to trump the interests of you and me. But there are people on the periphery that can be won over. How do I know that? I was a Zionist. I was a neocon, believe it or not. It's embarrassing as hell to admit, but it is true. And we have to actually, I think, meet people at times that are open-minded and aren't just seeking to, just represent this foreign regime and are, interested in having the discussion.
I'm going to give Brandon a noogies. That's actually what I do when I see Brandon.
Right.
So we have a long conversation that we need to have, and we haven't had an opportunity in a while, but I have a lot of love for Brandon, and obviously I think you don't have to stretch your imagination to see that we very much disagree on this topic, but it's allowed. We're allowed to disagree, and I hope that I can bring him to my side.
Yeah, he did our interview after he left Israel. They said they only spit on him once. I was like, why would you? Did you see that?
And when you go on these Israeli tours, because I did it with Charlie, they take you towards certain things, and it is intentional propaganda. It is so intentional. And when I was there, I did not like Israel. Charlie was like, this is amazing. Charlie was, oh, this is wonderful. It's safe. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Charlie, I feel like we're being taken on a tour of exactly what they want us to see. And I sense tension. I sense unhappiness. Mm-hmm. I was not a fan of Israel. It was my least favorite place I had visited, even when I was a Zionist. So, yeah, I just disagree with everything that Israel is doing. The Likud party, I think they're a band of terrorists. I think so they are a band of terrorists.
Yeah, they're absolutely a band of terrorists, and they want to drag my country into their terrorism, and I say, get the hell out of my country. I don't want to deal with that. But it is interesting to hear her say that, and she's right. They construct a lot of these tours, especially tours toward influencers and people that would write about their experiences to try to, tie in Judaism into Christianity, even though they're incompatible, because one has its martyr as the savior of humanity, and the other has that martyr as an imposter. That's literally what Orthodox Jews believe, but yet they want to propagandize this. Why? Not to tie our peoples together, but to exploit Christians in the United States for their wars, for their military operations, for the expansion of their settlements in the West Bank, for colonizing Gaza. That's what Smotrich talks about routinely right now. That's what they do. And if they do that to influencers, which they do, just imagine how much they do that with the AIPAC trips. The carefully choreographed trips that they take U.S. representatives on when they go there. Why? It's not to, join people together in harmony. It's to extract cash for their territorial conquests in the Middle East. That's what they do it for. Matt Gaetz has been playing about that, too, when talking about his AIPAC trip, for instance. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey never took them. Bless them, they're actual patriots.
So,
you know what,
Candace? We'll see. I will do my best when I see Brandon to put some other stuff in front of him and see if it makes an impact.
What you experienced, I have had family that went over there, and he said, man, he felt and he's not popular like you, so I'm sure they was giving you the red carpet, but he was just there, right? And he said, man, those people treated him like he was an animal. And he said when he came into contact after Israel, he went to a Muslim country, he said those people was the nicest people in the world. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. I said, that doesn't make sense because I wasn't fully aware of what was going on with Israel and the whole history behind it and how complicated those people are when it comes to religion and Christianity. It's like it blew me away. And
Yeah, what this says is Americans only see one side of the picture, and it's a picture that's designed to be shown